Good morning.
Welcome.
How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
We have a blunder to address.
Yeah. This is episode 15, but it should be episode 16.
This is 15.5.
Yeah.
We'll call it that 15.5 to
It's kind
16.
of both in one.
We recorded last Sunday and
It was a good one too.
it was fantastic. Not to, dig too much of a dig a nail into a wound here, but we realized as we went to finish up that it had stopped recording. And so we went and checked where our recordings load to, and we got
The
two
first
sec
two
we got 2
seconds.
seconds. So we have
It's
a
that button there. We're good.
we have we have a new protocol. We both must make sure
Yeah,
that it is recording before we proceed. It is. We agree.
it is. It
We agree.
is. Yeah.
Um so there's a decent amount of info.
Yeah. So,
Unfortunately, it means we're gonna skip over some things, but it's not super.
yeah. Well, we'll still touch on the stuff that we touched on last week, maybe a
Yeah.
quicker version. But there's a lot to get to.
Yeah.
The Leafs, of course.
This is the 26th of January.
Yes. So we have 6 games to cover. We had 3 on last week's, and then 3 on this week's, but we gotta mold them together. So uh, we start with Dallas, which was 2 weeks, probably tomorrow.
Yeah.
That was not our best showing. It's been a while now, but if we go back and think, or no, that we played well that night. I think.
I'm pulling up
No,
the
no, no.
news. No, this is where
We got
Dallas
punked. Yeah,
dominated
we got
us the
punked. Yeah,
entire time.
yeah,
I think it was Matthews had the lone goal in
yeah,
this one.
yeah.
Duchesne played really well. Yeah, this is where Dallas's power play
Yeah.
was frankly going really well.
Stankoven had 2 goals. He was buzzing all night
Yeah.
for them.
Um,
Yeah, we touched on it. Not actually though, because nobody will ever see it. We just had a nice 2.5 hour conversation just between the two of us.
yeah,
Yeah,
that one's just for us, buddy.
yeah. Yeah. It kind of what we touched on it. It kind of looked like the Leafs of old. A lot of bad turnovers. And that pretty much comes down to Dallas is very good on the forecheck. They don't give you a lot of time.
And this was coming off of a 2-game losing streak.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is they got pumped by the Canes, they got pumped by the
The
Canucks,
Canucks didn't look good, and that was
and then like
yeah,
Dallas is a good team.
yeah.
Dallas is a very good team, and you can't be coming in with low confidence. I don't think with games like that.
Yeah, it was just individual mistakes, just decision
Yeah.
making. It wasn't really they played horribly. They didn't play great by any means, but
No.
yeah, it just
So
was back to the good old pre. We're a little spoiled because we complain about the team we have now, but if we go back 7, 8 years,
10
it
times
was
worse.
way worse, and it was that bad for like a good 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
So
Um. So we go there, and then so we're kind of rolling on a low. We're on a 3-game losing streak. This is when
yeah,
all those interviews were happening of like, this is 3 in a row, guys. How are you gonna say it? Willie had a really good composed response to the media questions, basically being like, "It's 3 games,
it's
guys.
January.
Yeah,
Relax.
it's
Yeah,
fine. Like this isn't a big deal."
yeah.
And so they go up, and on the Thursday they have the Devils and played well,
Played a lot better.
battled back
Yeah,
because this is where Jack Hughes had the first goal, the first shot of the game.
yeah. It was like 2 minutes into the
Good
game.
positioning, bad bounce by the Leafs. Probably a little bit of a sloppy play up with
Probably
that
don't
blue
want to
line
let their best player alone
right in front of
from
the
the
net,
net.
where he
Yeah,
can literally just do. He stood there and did a deke
probably
and got it in.
probably don't want to do that.
But this is when,
It was a pretty back and forth game. It was just kind
yeah,
of they traded goals the
it
whole
was
whole game.
competitive.
Yeah,
This is when Matthews snuck one under.
yeah, yeah. So we talked about it. He did the. It was the same goal twice.
Yeah,
Dallas and New Jersey was the same goal.
there's a really interesting video that I saw, basically going over the Leafs shot deception. I don't know
Yeah.
if have you seen this?
No, I haven't seen it, but
They're doing like leg kicks, which usually means you're going high, and he's going low between the 5 hole. Like the
Matthews has always been like that. I think early in his career he was always going high, and people were starting to figure him out.
yeah,
So he kind of was going. He was 5 a lot,
and even
especially
Nylander,
in tight.
because so not to spoil it, ended up going to overtime, or I guess it is spoiling because it's not a spoiler because they already played.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah,
this is when Nylander did this a similar shot deception. He's been kind of like getting creative because he'll score the exact same goal like 3 games in a row or three
yeah.
times in a row, and then goalies start to read it, and he goes somewhere completely different.
Maybe teams start to back off because he gets 6 breakaways a game.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
Yeah, this was the game we talked about. Even though we won the game, it confirms our number one issue, and it's depth scoring.
yeah,
Because basically we needed Tavares out. We haven't said that yet.
still
So
not back.
so Tavares is out right now.
Got
So
injured at practice.
yeah, and just kind of typical hockey, you're not going to know what the injury is
No.
until fucking
There's
5
video
years
of
from
it,
now.
and it looks like something to do with like a knee of
Yeah,
some sort. Um, but they battled back. They got it in
yeah,
overtime. They could have lost it because Jack Hughes rang one off
yeah,
the post. And then Marner got good positioning. Nylander was cheating in
yeah.
the best
A good
possible
pass by
way.
Marner, and it was just Matthews, Marner, and Nylander
Yeah,
won the game. It was those three guys showed up, and those are your big guns, and you obviously you need them to show up, but there's going to be nights where you need help.
yeah,
And this game kind of highlighted like, oh my god, like these guys, if these guys have to bail us out
yeah,
a lot
yeah,
if we want to actually win anything of substance.
yeah. Um,
That was Keith's return too.
they gave him a
Keith's return to
nice, yeah,
Toronto.
they gave
Yeah,
him a nice little
yeah.
ovation.
His family still lives there, so which is interesting. It's not like he moved in the middle of the season. Like it was, he had a full off season.
Yeah.
Whatever. Anyway,
Next game we caught the first period, but this was the day that the Lions played
yes,
with
yes.
Montreal. It was a disaster.
Brutal start,
Horrible, probably one of the worst first periods all season.
and then after that,
We
they
s-
just exploded.
we switched the game and
Yeah,
suddenly they scored 7
yeah,
straight.
they exploded. I watched
Um,
the end.
this is when Wi-Fi turned down the fight against
Yeah,
Reeves, the iconic pointing at the
yeah.
scoreboard, and
Probably not something you want to do when your team is
not
not
that great.
not
You're
like
not a
they're getting better, but
stud.
like you might want to dial her back a bit.
And sorry, but like you didn't score any of these goals. Like just relax a little bit. The ego that came with it was a little rich
Yeah,
for me.
listen, like Ryan Reeves isn't the greatest hockey player on earth, but in terms of his role, he's the cream of the le creme de la creme.
Yeah. He didn't get sent down to the AHL this year, buddy, which I believe Wi-Fi had. Maybe last year.
I
He had
probably
some
last year. I think
stints.
Wi-Fi's new deal keeps him up. I think he's
Okay.
one way now, but before, yeah, yeah, he's younger.
So wound's still a little bit fresh with the Lions.
Yeah, yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
we'll brush past. Um, next game was Lightning.
Yeah, so I just want to touch
Yeah,
on. So we talked about the depth scoring is going to be an issue. Might be something we want to address at the deadline. It's kind of like McMahon and Robertson and Domi. They might show out for a couple games here and there, but it's not long term,
yeah.
especially Domi and Robertson. McMahon
McMahon's a little bit more
a little
consistent.
more consistent, but it's still a little streaky.
He's the only one popping up every couple games with a goal.
Yeah, and the difference is that McMahon brings other things, at least.
Yeah, speed, physicality.
There's other things that he can bring to the table. Whereas some of the other guys, it's like, okay, what are we doing here?
We've seen very little third and fourth line scoring in the last
Yeah,
2
yeah,
months.
yeah. It's basically since that 1 week where that Domi, Robertson, McMahon line was buzzing.
Yeah.
Uh, since then it's been, and I mean, we have a little bit of some injuries this week.
Yeah.
Nyes is out now. Tavares is out, so it's kind of like mishmash of lines.
Yeah.
So like it's like Camp and Lawrence are on the third line now.
The guys are dealing with a lot of adversity this year. This is probably one of the more like
But saying that McCabe is back. McCabe was
yes.
out, which is
Yes.
big for the decor. Um,
And
they're trying hard to find a partner that
even
works for Riley.
even McCabe last night was getting in the offense.
Yeah,
He had more shots
yeah.
last night than he had in any
McCabe
other
wants to
game.
join the rush. Yeah, he does. And then Minton obviously came back up. He didn't play the first couple games.
Yeah.
But he did end up playing against Tampa. Was his first game.
Chief communicated from the get-go
Yeah.
when they brought him up. He wanted him to have a couple practice with the guys before putting him into a game, so that's why Revo was even there in Montreal.
Yeah.
And then someone else I think subbed the other game, but
Yeah, so Tampa was on Monday night, and it looked a lot better.
Yeah, this was the nice show.
I believe Vasilevsky did not play, so that
No, it was
helped.
Johnson or Johansson.
Johansson. Obviously, we actually have had his number recently, but it is easy. Yeah, nice. It was again like Matthews, Nylander, Marner, and nice
Yeah.
when you win you the game, pretty much, right? It's
Couple
kind
of
of
assists from other guys, but like the
yeah,
type of goals that they were scoring
yeah,
was only those players are going to
yeah.
score those goals.
Tampa. It seems like the Leafs have Tampa's number.
Oh, what a great feeling.
It's a good feeling to have. It seems like it's kind of
They know how to
I,
play against them now.
yeah. I think it's just a style. Like Tampa isn't. They're not soft, but they're not like overly physical like
No,
Florida or Boston are.
yeah, they're not as in your face.
Yeah,
They're a worse, and this has been kind of a change of they're a worse version of the Leafs at this point.
yeah. At this point, yeah. Like they have what was great about Tampa previously when they were in the final for 3 years straight was their depth. They had the
Yeah.
high end stuff, but they had depth too.
Hmm.
And obviously, with the cups comes you got to pay your big guns a little more money. They got lucky a little bit during that stretch where it was their big guns were already locked in.
Hmm.
But then your secondary guys are starting to say, "Well, I'm doing this. I want more money,"
Yeah.
and that's where they kind of ran into the issue. So the depth isn't quite as good as it was. It's still not bad, but it's not quite what it was, which is kind of in the same thing as the Leafs camp, right?
You're
It's just the
reliant.
Leafs are younger.
Yeah, you're reliant a lot on Hagel, Kucherov.
Point.
Paul got two on that night,
Yeah,
but he's not like
Paul has been a fantastic role player for them,
yeah,
but just not a guy you want to rely on
no,
offensively
no, because he's
all
not
the
at that
time.
level.
He's a very good third line player,
Yeah,
maybe a little bit of secondary scoring, but not
no one,
not something you want to rely on.
and no
Yeah,
one else stands out.
yeah. It's again, it's top heavy. It's
Yeah,
Kucherov, it's Point, Gensel, Sorelli. You can mix Sorelli in there,
Australia might
Hagel
get
in
in
there,
there.
and then
Radish had a great night,
yeah,
which first night all season he's
yeah,
had a great night, but those shots were really stellar from him.
and Hedman and Vasilevsky are both kind of getting up there.
Yeah,
So they're still very good players, but
I still remember Hedman in the World Juniors and just seeing
yeah,
that guy play.
yeah.
It was
And listen,
unbelievable.
I don't we don't say this. I don't want to discredit Tampa. Tampa could be a problem in the playoffs. Like I would never count them out
No,
with the players they have. So, but it just seems like the Leafs maybe not as much as even with Boston's struggles, have we figured them out as much as we figured Tampa out. Tampa's the one team we've beaten in the series
yeah,
with this core team. So it
that
just kind of seems like okay, we've kind of figured them out. Even with Vasilevsky, like it seems like Vasilevsky struggles against us and not against anyone else.
there's nothing really like I haven't like done highlight analysis or anything
Yeah,
like that, but it's like he's not that weak. I don't know if we've just figured out how Vasilevsky likes to play, or if it's confidence
yeah,
thing, or
I
if
don't
it's
know what
just
it
a
is.
what it is.
Yeah,
Luck can play a role,
yeah,
but it just feels good.
yeah.
That was Prime Monday Night Hockey. Please
That was
sponsor.
Monday, so that was 3 wins in a row. After 3 losses in a row, that was 3 wins in a row.
Which felt great.
Yeah,
And like feeling like you dealt with some adversity,
yeah,
Devils fighting back and having that tit for tat and being able to
yeah,
get the win. Coming back from 3-0 against a not great
yeah,
Canadians team, but like still to not only come back and win, but to win in the
yeah.
fashion, 7 straight.
And the
Yeah.
Habs are playing well.
Yeah.
The Habs are playing well right now. So
And then a good team in the Lightning.
yeah,
And then it all
yeah.
came
It hasn't.
crashing down.
Listen, it hasn't looked great since then. I'm not. We're not going to panic here. Obviously, last night was a tight game. The Columbus game on Wednesday night,
It was not a close
though
game.
eventful, it was not a great
I think that
outing.
was more of a we really can't rely on Hildeby. I think that was a
That's
and part of it's the player's
yeah,
confidence when Hildeby's in net.
yeah. That's
Suddenly you had five guys collapsing on one. They weren't playing positioning, and so there was a Columbus player open all the time.
basically um, when since Stolars has been out, when Wall isn't playing, whether it's Hildeby or Murray, it's hasn't inspired a lot of
No.
confidence.
And if you don't feel confident, you feel like you need to over represent on
Yeah,
defense.
yeah.
And that's not the way the Toronto Maple Leafs work.
And if I'm being honest, I didn't. We outshot them. Like
Yeah.
we had
We had
enough quality chances to win that game.
Merzlikins was
Merzlikins played very well.
unbelievable.
It's weird. The Columbus goalies. whether it was Merzlikins or Korpisalo was there for a long time. Obviously not there anymore. But whoever it was, we always seem, even if they're having bad seasons, those two,
Because
whenever they play
Merzlikins
us,
is having a bad
yeah,
season so far.
it seems like when they're playing us, they always show up. Well, no, either one of them. Whoever's in net for Columbus, it just seems they play lights out against us every time we play them. I
We
don't
were
know
get
what it is.
we were getting high
Yeah,
percentage scoring
yeah.
chances. And he still was just
And it was just,
sprawling,
yeah.
no rebounds, kick saves, like unbelievable play.
Columbus's first line was an issue. We couldn't handle them.
Yeah.
So
This is Fantilli's hat trick night.
Fantilli, yeah,
70 fans
yeah,
in the
yeah.
stands for
We're gonna
him.
talk about Columbus, but yeah, very good to see Fantilli. I have been a big fan of his. He is a Michigan man, so there's a little bit of bias there, but I do like him as a player a lot. And the
Okay.
two Russians on his line. I think the big storylines, there's two storylines out of this game.
Okay.
Reeves finally got his fight,
Yep.
and I give props to Olivier. Olivier's had a very good season for Columbus, and I think Olivier won the fight.
It seemed like a toss up to me a little
I
bit
think
because
Olivier
like
edges it there.
Reeves had the one overhand right that
Yeah,
really caught him on the chin, but he didn't go
yeah.
down and then got his helmet back up.
But Olivier's one of the better fighters
Yeah.
in the league at this point, and he's fought a decent amount this year,
Yeah.
whereas Reeves hasn't fought since last year,
Not by his own choosing.
right? Like obviously that he wants to, he's tried to, but it
Olivier
just
stepped up.
yeah. So, but it was a good fight. It was probably the best NHL fight I've seen all year. You don't
Um,
see NHL fights like that anymore.
yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah,
Where you're literally just
yeah,
trading rights.
yeah. There's by far, there's still like you watch CHL stuff like that, maybe Junior B, Junior C. There's still some haymaker fights out there. Maybe not Junior B, Junior C. It's kind of soft now, but um, because kids they're just giving her right. There's no
Yeah.
strategy involved. Whereas the NHL guys, the vets that have been around that know how to fight, maybe there's a little bit of know-how to not take 50 punches to the face.
Yeah. How do I not break my
Yeah,
orbital
yeah,
bone?
and still win the fight, right? So
Because Reeves will break your
yeah,
orbital
yeah.
bone.
So, but that was a really nice tilt. Um, Matthews gets a little bit of the headlines for during the game and post game. So during the game, there was a play. He and Merzlikins both lost their sticks. As Merzlikins picks Matthews' stick up and plays with the player stick. So Matthews decides to pick up the goalie stick. So Matthews is standing net front and he's got the goalie stick. It was hilarious to watch.
Did he get a penalty for that?
They both got penalties. You can't pick up another player's stick like that.
So it's
So
just a
it was just offsetting,
yeah.
but like so funny. You see the player out there. Matthews could come back next game with a goalie stick.
Big bit of timber
Yeah.
in that hand.
They should get Nyes the goalie stick for the tips in front.
There you go.
Yeah, a lot easier to tip with the goalie stick, but a lot heavier though.
Yeah.
That was funny. Yeah, that was funny. Obviously, would have wished with all the fun stuff during the game, we would have won the game. And then post game, Matthews, uh, basically, this is going to be a topic for you. This is your favorite topic, not your favorite topic, your least favorite topic, but
Okay.
you like to yell about it.
Okay.
Matthews calls out the yacht
The
club.
fans.
Maybe
Yep.
maybe a little bit of noise for the Revo fight. He's been waiting. It's been over half the season.
Our fans who can afford to go to
Yeah.
the games suck.
You gotta. If you're that rich, you can go sit in the upper bowl. Get the people in the upper bowl down to the lower
There's
bowl.
not enough people
Yeah.
who actually give a shit and
Yeah.
are Leafs fans.
Did you see the video of the guy in the lower bowl?
No.
This guy is videoing himself, and he's like, "All right, it's a little quiet here tonight. Let's get the fans going." And he starts chanting, "Go Leafs, go!" And he continues and continues and continues. And
No
there's
one
a
joined.
couple of people that say it once or twice, but most of them just sit there all silent. And this is in the lower bowl. It's like, holy fuck, people.
The guy's right next to the
Yeah.
ice. Go to the Saddle Dome.
Yeah.
You want to see an electric stadium? They're not even a good team. Go to a Calgary game. It is nothing but jerseys of red and orange, and the fans are electric.
I debate that Saturday night at 10 Calgary games. That's time for bed.
It's just like it just sucks to see.
Yeah.
It sucks
It's
to
not that it's
see.
empty. It's just the people that are there.
If you're a team and you want to get some energy, what's better than just a little bit of noise? And I know some people be like, "Oh, the players can't hear it anyway." Clearly, they can.
Yeah. Like, oh, they can.
When you go to
Yeah.
other teams' stadiums and it is nothing like
Yeah.
what the Toronto Stadium is like and what the arena noise
It
and
was
just it
louder for the Leafs on Saturday night in Ottawa than it was in their own arena.
yeah,
And Ottawa, it's not like it's the Battle of Ontario. Like, it's a Canadian city.
iconically last season, it was the
Yeah.
Buffalo game
Yeah.
where
Well,
you went
that's
and
typical.
yeah, but it's real.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, fans are willing to travel. They may live outskirts of Toronto, but they're gonna make the way all the way to Buffalo, paying US dollars because they can actually get in, see a game, and cheer for a team that they like, as opposed to a bunch of fucking Bay Street bankers who don't give a shit, do hopped up on whatever they're doing,
Yeah.
allegedly. And then it's just like, it's ridiculous. Too many suits, get some jerseys in there.
Yeah.
It's freaking
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Just a little bit of like we want it to be electric here, all right? We only if we're gonna go into the playoffs and we got these guys sitting in the lower bowl and no noise, silence in the
You want to
playoffs.
give
Get the boys going
the
here.
3 stars of the game, how they always,
Yeah.
give the stick away? You want it going to a 36-year-old guy who's trying to close a
Yeah.
business deal, or you want to give it to an 8-year-old kid
Yeah.
who came to see his
Yeah.
favorite player?
That'll actually give a shit. We won't get in. We won't go that much of a deep dive. Jack's had his rants before.
Yeah.
It's just that Matthews. But I love. What did you think of Matthews saying that? I loved it.
Call him
Yeah,
out.
I loved it.
You
Yeah,
like, the organization
yeah.
themselves needs to know, hey, you
If
want to keep a superstar player? Guess what? This
yeah,
matters to the players.
if all the fans, especially in Toronto, because Toronto is the hotbed of hockey, you can say whatever you want about these players. You go online and bitch about them. They can say whatever they want back. It's a free country.
I understand that the NHL and each individual team is a business. I
Yeah,
understand that you want to maximize the
yeah,
revenues and the profits. I understand that. It's how we can afford to sustain a league, help grow the league, compensate for lower, enthusiastic markets. But it's like, end of the day, what the hell are we trying to do here? We're trying to put on an
yeah,
entertaining show.
yeah. It's just that's more than other North American sports. The NHL is such a gate-driven league. They need the revenue from the people going in.
Yep.
So that's why they can. That's why they kind of have to do that. Whereas like other leagues, like the MLB, which the MLB, it's three-quarters empty
Yeah. But
a
there's
lot of the time.
182 games.
But there's 160 games, and you have TV deals.
Yeah.
You're making money in other ways, right?
Yeah.
The NHL and the NHL is a hard cap, which none of the other sports do.
It's just kind of like, what do we need to do to
Yeah,
get
yeah,
to fix this? Because this is a problem.
yeah.
I think at this point, if you have players speaking about it, it is a problem.
So I said you could pay your $500, but go sit up there. We'll take all the people that are sitting up there and bring
Yeah.
them down here.
Or
You
even the
don't seem like
people
you're sitting on your phone
the
anyway. Who
the
cares
you're
where you're
sitting on your
sitting?
phone anyway, or
Yeah,
you have the corporate tickets and your guest doesn't want to
yeah,
go, so the seats are fully empty.
yeah. Anyway, on to Ottawa last night. Um, Forsberg had a nice night for them. He kind of kept them in it. McMahon
Yeah.
scored pretty early. We had an early lead. Stood so tied it midway through the first, and it was kind of just a stalemate from there.
And then Pinto is the one who
Yeah, it was a very lucky, stupid bounce, and
passed from, I don't know if it was Stützle who made the pass, bounced off Marner, and then
it just hit
got
10 guys and then looped over Wall's head. It was
kneed in by
yeah,
Pinto, and it's just like,
yeah,
that if Steven Lawrence's goal earlier this year was taken back for kicking motion, on what planet? I understand maybe he hadn't started kicking yet. He went for the kick.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah. It wasn't a horrible night, but it just seemed kind of. And again, that's another night. They kind of key on the big guns.
Yeah.
Needed somebody else to step up and put the puck in the net. And McMahon did,
Yeah.
but no, didn't see it from anyone else. Man, McMahon was on the first. It was playing on the first line as well. So
The other standout thing was when they were trying to tie it up, that last 10 minutes of the third,
yeah,
they could not get an
they
entry.
couldn't. They couldn't get an entry. Yeah, I've had an issue with our entries. It's been a little better this year with the new coaching staff.
It's not just drop
It's not
passes at
as
the red line
yeah. There's
every freaking
they
time.
still do it, but they're not like before it was okay. Mara brings the puck up, drop pass. Matthews brings the puck up, drop pass. Nylander brings the puck up and goes in, or whoever Riley goes in, or whatever. Now it's kind of like one drop pass. Now be direct, right?
Yeah,
But they just it seems to be an issue for them, and it's kind of strange as to why it would be when you have the talent you have.
because it's okay. You're either doing enter with speed and
Yeah,
with zone presence already because all your guys are there. That's the whole
yeah.
point of the drop pass. Is someone gets to go up, everyone else is already there. You all go over together, and you're coming in possession. That's
It,
the goal.
it's kind of got to be like I think Nylander is the one you kind of want to get the puck because he's the one where the puck sticks to his stick best.
Yeah,
But it's kind of you got to get like Tavares or Nyes on the half wall, standing on the blue line, and it's got to be a little Nylander comes in or Marner comes in or Matthews comes in with a little bit of speed, pass to them on the half wall, make and with speed into the zone. If the defenseman follows you, Tavares and Nyes can kind of go in. They have a little bit of space. If
yeah.
not, if they go to the puck, you just chip it in and go from there.
Because you're not, they're not a dump and chase style
No,
team.
and it's a power play. You don't want to dump and chase on a
No,
power play. You
but
want
even if
puck
it's not a
possession.
power,
Yeah,
even if it's not a power play, they're not the team to jump, go in and bang and get
they
possession
kind of
again.
are now.
The they don't have the players that really that leans best towards.
Well,
Maybe the fourth
the
line, third line
yeah,
can do
yeah.
that.
The first two lines,
Should be
maybe
going
you
in
can
with
try and keep
possession.
possession, but there's times you can't. It's 5-on-5. There's no room. You got to do what you got to
I think
do.
they need to mix it up more.
Yeah, I
It's
think you
too
mix it up.
predictable, and
You
I think
still,
Ottawa figured that out. And I think they clearly, by the end of the game,
yeah.
we're just going to clog up the blue
That's
line.
that's where like guys like Nyes and McMahon come in, where they're
Hmm.
playing on those top two lines, a
Yeah,
little bit on the forecheck, which is what I think we've struggled to find on the second line. If McMahon is playing on the third line, who's the next guy with Tavares and Nylander? And it's like Domi's not terrific on the
no,
forecheck. Robertson's not really physical enough on the forecheck.
it's too small.
Pacioretty has kind of had games here and there
I don't
because
think he has the speed to do it.
yeah, he has redefined his role a little bit. He's been very physical compared to what he used to be.
Yeah,
But it's just kind of like, and he can't stay healthy, so like you can't really rely on that.
no,
So it's kind of like you need somebody in that role because unlike the third and fourth line where it's three guys, it doesn't matter who chip it in and they're gonna go get it.
yeah,
Where the first and second lines is like I don't want Marner going in on the forecheck because it's not going to work.
no,
You want Nylander going on the forecheck, it's not going to work.
yeah,
Even if they are being physical, they're still small guys. They're likely not going to win as many battles as McMahon or Nyes or
right,
even Matthews.
right,
But even then, you want your $13 million player on the forecheck, or you want him to puck up the stick,
yeah.
right? So obviously, you got to do what you got to do. Yeah, it has been better this year, but it just seems like the zone entries. There's always been an issue in the power play. It's a little bit of guys trying to do a little too much. They feel like they got to dangle 10 guys to get the zone entry, and it's just it.
Even last night, it was as they got some zone entry and they were in and they were trying to set something up. It was just too many cute little passes,
Yeah,
too cute little one tap passes, and it's like I get it, it looks clean.
yeah,
Sometimes it's okay to take the half second and actually think about the decision.
yeah,
There was one with, I don't know if it was Willie, I don't know if it was Mitch last night, but there was one that I noticed in the third, and it was just like there you had zero reason, there was zero pressure or need to get rid of the puck when you did on the blue line, and you forced it. It was a massive turnover and a breakaway or 2-on-1 for Ottawa,
yeah,
and it's okay to stay composed. You don't have to be the fastest all the time.
yeah. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Last night's lineup was a little depleted. It was
We're missing Johnny a lot, I think,
yeah. Tavares has been out, so it's been a lot of Holmberg on the second line center. Maybe
which
a little bit
isn't,
of Domi.
yeah.
Domi's been playing wing a lot though.
Domi's been playing a little bit better the last couple games, like
Yeah,
not still struggling
I've seen him
production
maybe
wise.
like hit in game a little bit more
Yeah.
than what we're used to seeing. When Domi, if Do, the biggest problem with Domi is when he doesn't move his feet, when he stands still. That's
Hmm.
his biggest issue.
Hmm.
When he's moving his feet, he can fly, and you get it on the forecheck, you're physical, then it's great.
Yeah.
But there's a little too many times where he's flat-footed, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. But yeah, with Tavares out and Nyes out, it was kind of McMahon had to go up to the first line. The second line was kind of makeshift. I think it was like Domi, Holmberg, and Nylander. And then the
Yeah.
third line, like Camp and Lawrence, are on the third line. They're both normally fourth
Fourth
line
line guys.
guys. I would have preferred to maybe have seen Minton on the third line.
I agree.
And
Um,
obviously, Jacob Quillen made his NHL debut last night
scary first.
yeah, because Dewar is out as well.
Yeah, scary first shift for him with him
Yeah.
and Cousins.
So the knee on
Oh
knee.
no, Nick Cousins! I hope you didn't break your leg.
Well,
Sorry, pal.
Nick Cousins initiated the contact. Also, imagine if that happened at the World Juniors with the ones they called at the World Juniors. The
Oh, he
guy,
would have been in prison.
the guy
He'd
would,
be in jail.
the guy would be banned for life.
It'd be who was it? Chara who hit Pat? Was it Pacioretty in back in like the early 2010s? And they opened an investigation with the police. It was ridiculous, but that's what would have happened.
Yeah. So, and then no penalty.
Yeah,
So that's the difference there.
yeah,
World Juniors, you got ones that aren't even knee on knee, and they're getting 5 minute and game misconducts, and the ones that are actually knee on knee in the NHL, they don't even call it.
yeah.
So there's a little bit of a difference.
Little ridiculous.
Yeah, but Quillen ended up being okay. Did Cousins come back? I didn't even notice if he came
I
back or
no, he
not.
didn't.
I don't think he
He
did.
finished.
Yeah. Um. Fourth line role, you don't really see him much. I know his family lives in Ottawa, so it was easy
Eat
for
shit,
them.
Nick Cousins.
Eat shit to Cousins, yeah. Uh, there's two other things I want to talk about with the Leafs.
Okay.
The one thing is we kind of touched on with the Columbus game a little bit with since Stolarz has been hurt, Wall has handled the majority of games, but on the games he hasn't played, the Leafs have struggled a little bit. Um, I'm reading that Wall has been taking like the Leafs don't have him practice a lot since Stolarz has been out. It's kind of like
Because he's taking so
we're
much workload.
we're lightening the load for you on practice days so you're ready for game days because of obviously the injury history.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of we kind of need Stolarz back just to lighten the load on Wall a little bit. So it's like even if Wall is your main guy, at least you're confident enough to go in and win a game
Yeah.
when he's not in. So
Yeah.
he doesn't have to play every night. Because
It's
basically before Wednesday night, I think that was the first time Wall didn't play when it wasn't a back to back.
Yeah.
Since the Stolarz injury.
Yeah. It's been too much for him. I think
I don't
it's
think
like
it's
I think that's
I think he needs to get used to it because if you want to be the guy in the playoffs, this is what it's going to be.
yeah. I
You're going to
think
be playing every other night.
yeah. And seeing a mix of talent is like good. I understand that.
But through an 82 game season, you're not playing 82 games.
You just don't want him to get burnt out.
Yeah, you don't want
And
to
the
burn him
injury
out.
risk.
Yeah,
It's just you put him out any
yeah.
given night, he's more likely to get hurt.
So it's kind of they've been lightening the load. Uh, I know there's been a couple guys, like I think Revo was joking about it a little bit, like, oh, he doesn't have to practice, and we do. And they're giving him a hard time, but
Revo,
I
relax.
think it was just he's just joking around, right?
Yeah.
But it's just like it's like precious cargo here. Like we need gold. We know we need goaltending in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Whether it's Wall or Stolarz, but Wall has been. It's not that he's played poorly; he's played well.
He's played well. Even last night. Last night he made some unbelievable
He's
saves.
played very well. It's just kind of like, yeah, we want to be careful.
You just can't sustain it.
Yeah.
We've talked about it a lot of times where it's like the days of playing 80% of the games through the regular season is well done.
And I am reading that Stolarz is on track to actually come back a little early. So
That's only going
it
to
could
help.
be see him. We could see him soon, and that's what the NHL. We talk. Everyone talks about it all the time. The NHL they seem to over guess how long the injury will be, so that if you actually think it's going to be 2 weeks, but
Say
then it ends
3.
up being longer, people are, excuse me,
It's
people
way
start
worse
paying.
than it actually is. He's
If they say
probably
4 to 6 weeks and he's back in 3 weeks, everyone
he
loves
got
it,
shot
right?
on the way to the hospital
Yeah,
for the surgery.
yeah. And then the last Leafs thing I had was last week. Mitch Marner became the fastest Leaf to 700 points. So just quick congrats to Mitch.
Congratulations.
Well done. We're a little spoiled. I was talking about this at work the other day with a guy at work. And it's crazy how like when I was a kid, when we were kids, the Leafs didn't have the greatest teams and they struggled. But it was kind of like okay, whatever. But if the Leafs had those teams now, what I get, well, I'm sure what everyone, but me personally,
Yeah.
I get mad at things the Leafs do now. And the Leafs have consistently been one of the best like 5, 6, 7 teams in the NHL for the past 8, 9 years,
Yeah.
at least in regular season, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you get pissed at a team like this. Imagine if they were that bad when you're an adult, when it's actually like you actually understand more and it actually like affects you,
Yeah.
kind of. So we're a little spoiled. Obviously, we complain a lot, playoff stuff, but we just need to appreciate a little bit.
This is a fantastic position.
We don't like we Matthews, Marner, and Nylander. Like the Leafs are one of the oldest franchises in hockey, and these guys are like gonna break Leafs records.
Hmm.
Already have broken some.
Hmm.
Where it's like you look back on it, it's like you look back and it's like who are the famous Leafs, right? Like you got like
Matt
Sundin,
Sundin.
you got Doug Gilmour, you got Wendell Clark, you got Daryl Sittler. You want to go way back, it's like Dave Keon,
Yeah.
Frank Mahovlich, guys like that. But none of these, you actually go and look at their stats. Like they didn't play that many games, and the points were there for the amount of games they played. But you actually look at it, it's like wow, like Clark and Gilmore played like what 300 games for the Leafs.
Yeah.
These guys are gonna smash that,
They're gonna crush it.
and those are like the best two
You
guys.
do have a dynasty, like just classic team
Um,
happening right now.
Dynasty might be a little bit of a
You
stretch,
have
but
some of the best Leafs to have ever played on the Leafs actively all playing together,
yeah,
which is
you
why I
even
think
put Tavares in that mix too.
people feel so desperately they want a cup,
Yeah,
and you really do have some components here where the talk is realistic.
yeah,
You just need to put it all together and maybe make some moves, or just have a run of consistency and just have the grit there. But this is the best position we've been in very, 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 very long time.
yeah. I'd say like the early 2000s. We were a lot older. It was kind of like Sundin and Newendike and Roberts and guys like that.
Tucker.
Belfort, yeah, Tucker, McCabe, Cabriolet, guys like that, where we had a good team,
Yeah.
but it was just we came
It
close a
was
couple
always
times,
kind of
but
a second round exit.
it was like yeah,
We beat Ottawa.
made a couple conference finals.
Yeah.
We had Ottawa's number. We
Oh,
played
every
Ottawa a
year.
lot.
It was almost
Yeah,
poetic. It was,
yeah,
oh, we have Ottawa in the first round. Well,
yeah,
who are we getting for the second round
yeah.
then?
It was some good series though. They were always
The
tight. Just
Alfredson series. Oh my gosh.
the the 04 7 game series. That's like the first my first vivid hockey memory.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Love that.
where it was like that was cool. That was
This is why we're Leafs
yeah.
fans.
And then they didn't win a series again
No,
for 20 years.
no, no.
They hooked me in for a round, and that was it. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So maybe we just need to sit back and appreciate what we have a little bit.
It's tough to do in
Obviously,
the
if they
moment
don't win
sometimes.
the cup, then this is all for naught. But we got a
You're
little bit of
still you're
patience.
still witnessing some amazing
Yeah.
hockey players.
Yeah. All right.
I just noticed something. We don't have a particular thing that is upstairs that I believe we're doing later.
Yeah. It could be a long one.
Okay.
So we'll see. We'll
Okay.
see what the time's like.
Just curious.
Maybe we just hit pause if we have time for it,
Okay.
because we could be running long.
So there's no pause. It's just stop.
Oh, really?
This is the
Okay.
difference from what we're using
Well,
now
that's fine.
versus what we're doing.
One of us goes and gets it, and we
Okay.
can talk to ourselves while the
Okay.
other guy goes and gets it if
Okay.
we decide to do it. Okay. My idea was to kind of we touch on everything we touched on around the league last week,
Okay.
but there's something we can't ignore.
The
There's something we have to
blockbuster.
talk about first.
This was unbelievable to kind of see come through. You texted me and I'm like, what are you even talking about?
Jack thought I was chirping him because I'm absolutely pumping him in fantasy this week.
Listen, we don't need to go down that road.
Um, So we have a blockbuster deal, and this is like the biggest deal we've seen in a long time.
I can't think of a bigger one in recent memory of like
Middle of the season, you're trading a high quality player.
this blows any trade line deadline deal out
Yeah,
for as long as I
and
can
this is the
remember.
rumors have been the four nations might act as the trade deadline this year
Yeah.
because the guys that are going teams might want to not take the risk they get hurt at that and then come back and
Yeah.
they can't trade them.
Suddenly their value
Yeah.
is completely done.
So here's the deal. The blockbuster deal. It's a 3-team trade involving Carolina, Colorado, and Chicago. So in the deal, Carolina receives Mikko Rantanen from Colorado, and they receive Taylor Hall from Chicago. Colorado will receive Martin Necas, Jack Drury, a 2025 second, and a 2026 fourth round pick, all from Carolina. And Chicago will get back their own third round pick this year from Carolina they originally traded before, and they will also retain half of Mikko Rantanen's salary.
This is wild.
This is a little crazy.
Um,
So let's talk. We're going to touch on Carolina because they're
Carolina just got way better.
Carolina gets better. So Carolina's recent history has been they play like a playoff team for 82 games, but then when the playoffs come, they win a round, they lose in the second round.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it's been.
Yeah.
Or even maybe lose in the conference final. They just can't seem to get over the hump, even though they play a playoff style all year.
Uh-huh.
The biggest problem for them has been putting the puck in the net.
Yeah.
They tried to address it last year. They brought Gensel in, and he actually did play well in the playoffs, but they were unable to keep him and re-sign him. This is an even bigger upgrade on that.
Yeah.
Rantanen is probably one of the 10 best players in the NHL right
Yeah.
now.
He
Now we'll see because you are playing on a line with McKinnon every night.
How enabling was that?
But Aho is no slouch,
Nope.
and there's a little bit of Finn connection there. They're about to go play with each other at the Four Nations too.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Get a little chemistry running.
But Rantanen, that's like high end goal scorer, high end talent from
Yeah.
the league,
I
and that
agree.
pushes Carolina up into the mix of one of the favorites to
That
win the
is,
cup.
yeah, I agree with you. That is a top 10 player in the league.
I think Taylor Hall at this point in his career wasn't what he was, but I think if you've seen in recent history, you put him on a solid team, he'll produce
He was
decently.
never going to turn it around in Chicago.
Yeah,
There's just nothing
there's
to
just
play
not a
with.
like when he went to Boston a couple years short term, he played well.
He was okay.
He was solid.
Taylor Hall always kind of like, yeah, I think there was a lot of hype, and I think it was a little bit of an over.
Yeah, it was the first overall pick, so there was a little bit of hype. He had like a really good team, won MVP in New Jersey. He had some good seasons there, but I obviously maybe I would say probably a guy that probably deserved to be like a top 5, top 10 pick in the draft,
Yeah.
but maybe not a first overall based on what we've seen.
It set
Obviously, at the time, it was pretty surefire that he was the first pick.
it set the expectation so high, and around that time,
Yeah.
there were so many top end talent going in the first round,
Yeah.
like the several years going.
I watched Hall a lot personally because he played in Windsor for the Spitfires, and they won back-to-back Mem Cups, and that team was loaded, and he was the main guy on the
Yeah.
team. So it's kind of like, how do you not?
Yeah.
But obviously, it hasn't panned out that way. Obviously, it didn't pan out at all in Edmonton. He did
No.
well for a bit in New Jersey, but he's gotten older. But like that one half season in Boston, he played well. Um, he had a bad injury last year in Chicago, so he didn't even really get to play. And then he comes back this year. The roster really isn't there.
Healthy scratch.
And I think Chicago just kind of gets rid of the salary and it gives them a little bit of cap space, and it's time to get ready for next year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they're not doing anything. What are you doing?
I gotta blow my nose.
To go blow your nose.
Holy smokes.
You just told me you can't stop it.
No, I was gonna go into the editing mode.
Brace yourself for Jack making noise.
Keep going, sorry. Give me a minute here.
Rantanen, or sorry, Hall. Hall gives Carolina a little bit of secondary scoring, which has been probably a little bit of an issue. And they give up Martin Necas, who had a hot start to the season for them, but it hasn't really, it's slowed down a lot. And it gives Colorado a guy who isn't quite as good as Rantanen, but it saves them a lot of cap space for next year, and even this year, maybe they go strike a deal somewhere else. Jack Drury's kind of a depth guy to help out third, fourth line center, and they get 2 picks back as well. Natchez, we'll see. I'd imagine he plays on the first line with McKinnon, which is a different player for McKinnon because Natchez is more of a playmaker, whereas Rantanen was more of a goal scorer. So we'll see what happens. The interesting Another interesting part is Chicago's part of the deal. Chicago doesn't really get much out of this deal other than dumping Hall's salary and maybe creating a little bit of cap room, but they do eat half of Rantanen's salary. Now, what I'm hearing is that because Chicago helped kind of initiate the deal, that Chicago has a shot if Rantanen doesn't re-sign in Carolina, that Chicago might make a run at him in Chicago. So that's interesting because Chicago's not going to be good enough to go win the cup next year. But what they do have is cap space, and if Rantanen wants that big ticket, excuse me, um, Chicago's probably the most well-equipped team to give it to him. Bedard has another year left on his rookie deal, I believe, so you don't have to pay him until next year. So maybe Rantanen can get that big 14, 15 million from Chicago because they're a young team, they have tons of cap room. So we'll see there. It's just strange. So I was just saying that part of the Chicago thing, Chicago kind of brokers this deal. They kind of get involved and broker the deal because
Yeah.
Colorado probably didn't want to eat half the salary, so they and Carolina were probably saying, "Well, we need somebody to eat a little bit of salary here." And Chicago kind of helped broker the deal. And what I'm hearing is that Chicago might be making a run at Rantanen in free agency, which is interesting.
It
Does he want to go there because
That's
they're
it,
not going to
right?
win now, but the big thing is they're going to have a ton of cap space,
And that's
and they could pay him big
it
bucks.
depends on what his motivation is.
Yeah,
And I think if he ultimately had the I want to go win cups, he would have stayed in Colorado and signed for less. I
yeah,
think he's more
yeah.
money motivated
He's already got his cup in Colorado too, right?
and so
So
I think it's, hey, I'm gonna go make a stupid amount of money for the next couple of
yeah,
years. And if he doesn't give a shit about cups,
yeah,
yeah, go
yeah,
play with Bedard, go play in Chicago. You'll be a friggin'
yeah,
icon.
yeah. So, but obviously Carolina has first dibs on this because he's part of their roster.
Yeah,
So Carolina has
they'll
the
open the
opportunity to
talks.
sign him
Yeah.
before it gets to that point. Um, we kind of talked about Hall a little bit. Hall probably a decent depth scoring option for Carolina.
So okay, sorry to jump back a little bit in terms of Ranton and then in Carolina. Um, for the cap space, like, are you going to start those conversations in the next couple of months then for re-signing? Like, how early are you going to start,
Yeah,
or do you want to
probably
have
right
him play a
away.
few games, make sure he's the right fit
I
for your
think it'll
team?
be right away.
I think so too.
Yeah,
It's just like, okay, this is a massive commitment. If
yeah,
you do sign him for the amount of money that it's rumored that he wants, you are basically
yeah.
being like, this is now the direction of the team that we're going
And
with.
Carolina notoriously doesn't dish out tons of money to
No,
guys,
no,
but I think they can kind of see the writing on the wall. The cap's going up. You need to be able to put the puck in the net in the playoffs,
yeah, and Rantanen can do that.
and Rantanen can do that. If you truly want to be a true contender, you need to be able to score.
Yeah,
So I'd imagine Rantanen slots right in on Aho's wing. Hall is probably going to be third line,
yeah.
and then Natchez probably comes in, slots right in on McKinnon's wing, and Drury will be third, fourth line center in Colorado. And then Chicago gets their pick back, and they eat half a Rantanen's salary for now, which they don't really need the cap space this year because they're not going to do anything with it.
Nope.
And then the off season they can reset, and if Rantanen's still there, doesn't resign Carolina, they can make a run at him, or they can make a run at other people.
Open a conversation with
And you
whomever
still
you'd
have
like.
Bedard. Bedard still has a year left on his rookie deal, I would imagine. So they have a little bit of leeway, Chicago.
And honestly, when Bedard resigns, if he does decide to resign in Chicago, I don't think he's going to get a fortune. Honestly,
If Marner's getting 11 million off of his rookie deal,
you think
I think Bedard's getting somewhere close to that.
interesting. This will be a conversation for another day.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's getting probably
He's getting that
at
money.
least that.
Holy smokes.
At least that.
Okay.
Chicago
Co-
doesn't have to pay anyone else,
coming
so
with term. Coming with term.
yeah, I would
Okay.
imagine they would give him the term.
Okay.
Yeah, unless Bedard, I mean, Matthews is still making the big bucks, but Matthews is kind of taking not short deals, but like 4 or 5 year deals, not
Hmm.
like a 7, 8 year deal, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. Um. So I think that there's two questions with this deal. Actually, well, I want to talk about Colorado a little bit before
Okay.
we get to that. Um,
Natchez.
with Natchez. So Natchez is obviously going to be a little bit of a downgrade. Natchez had a good start to the season. He's kind of cooled off a bit. He's been a very streaky player since he's been in the league.
Former Avs player.
Natchez?
I believe so.
Not sure about that.
Let's double check.
I don't think so.
No?
I think Natchez was drafted by Carolina.
Was he?
Yeah. Hockey DB, where are you at?
First round pick.
Yeah, Carolina. Not sure where you heard that, but
Hmm.
well, yeah, Natchez is 26, and it's kind of he's shown a lot of flashes that he could be a very good player, but he has never really popped off, and I think Carolina's been kind of waiting for that. And that's it. What happened at the beginning of the season, but he hasn't sustained it for the whole year. He's still over a point per game this year, so he could be. Does this deal? Is Colorado still in the hunt after this deal for now? Just this season,
I don't know if it ends it, but it makes it a lot harder.
it does make it harder.
I still think any team that has Nathan McKinnon, Kale McCarr,
Yeah,
um, I don't know where Nushkinen is at because he's injured still.
I think a lot of people forget about Landeskog
Yeah.
because what this trade is telling me for Colorado is that one, uh, Landeskog could be back because the Avs are already really up against the cap to begin
So
with.
unload this, slot back in Landeskog.
We can get Landeskog
You've
in
got what? Druin is their second line center.
middle stat. Druin plays on the wing on the first line.
Okay.
It could be something like that. Nichushkin is hurt right now as well. He's still got a lot of term left. Landeskog's got a lot of term left. McKinnon's got a lot of term left. Natchez makes 6.5 right now. He's got one more year. So we'll see what
He'll go
happens after
up.
that.
He'll likely go up
If he keeps playing
if he can
how he did
have
being
a,
the
if he can
year.
start decent with
Yeah.
the Avs.
Now I think the big one is McCarr still has 2 years left at 9. But after that,
Oh, he's gonna fetch a
what is
fortune.
McCarr
A
getting?
fortune.
See, I would agree, but he's a defenseman.
If Eric Carlson's at 11.5,
But look how that has worked out.
I agree. I still think he probably gets into the seven-figure range. He's going to make like, or not seven-figure, eight-figure. He's going to make over 10 million.
I would, yeah, he's going to get a raise for sure. It's just like defensemen don't usually make
With
near the
that
end.
defenseman,
But is McCarr going to be a guy that's maybe pushing McKinnon, maybe pushing McDavid, Draisaitl, Matthews in
I
earnings?
I don't know if he's pushing it that much. I still think he'll be below all those guys, but I think he does land in the $11 million range.
Yeah, I don't,
I
I
just
don't,
think he
I don't know what
justifies it.
happens. You still have a couple years left. The cap's going to go up after from now between now and then. Like it's going up this summer. So imagine 2 years from now, it could go up even more.
The moves that he pulls off as a defenseman,
Yeah,
he'll get breakaways. Like it's I saw a highlight of him from the other night, and it's just like he's too valuable of an asset.
yeah,
He's not just a
yeah.
defenseman. Sure, he's a defenseman, but he's one of the, if not arguably the defense best offensive defenseman in the league.
Um, so basically, what this trade is saying, I was thinking maybe Landeskog, maybe they make a little bit of room for
I
Landeskog.
hadn't thought about that.
But the biggest thing is that Rantanen wanted McKinnon money, and I don't think the Avs were willing to go that high.
No.
I think that's what it comes down to.
The rumor I heard was like they were around off. I think it was Elliot was saying they were around like 11.75 is the rumor, and he
Yeah,
just wouldn't accept that,
McKinnon makes 12.6, I think.
and they weren't willing to go
Twelve
over
point
that.
six McKinnon makes. And obviously, they were not willing to go that high.
No.
What does Rantanen make now? I believe it was like 10 something. Rantanen makes that can't be right. Rantanen makes 4.63. Oh, that's he makes 9.5. That's not he makes nine
Because
point two five.
50% of that
He makes
retain.
half, yeah. So the retain half. So 9.25 right now, which is pretty low for a player of
Mm-hmm.
his quality.
Caliber.
Obviously, he signed it 6 years ago. So,
Mm-hmm.
but
So how old is Ranton then? 28? 29?
28.
Okay, so he's gonna look for what? 8 years?
I think it's dependent on the player. We talked about Matthews. Like maybe some of these high end guys start to take half the term to maximize earnings because in 4 years when they're still studs they could get an even bigger raise, right?
I don't know, because I view it 28. Okay, next time you're re-signing, then you're
Yeah,
like
it's dependent on the guy.
32,
It's
33.
dependent on the guy. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not really sure, but it pretty much says like the Avs don't have the space
Yeah.
to keep him because if you look at the beginning of the season, before the season started, the Avs were actually over the cap.
It's a bit of a something has to give here.
So it's kind of like, well, what do we do? Do we keep him to try and win this year and then lose him for nothing? Or maybe we try and keep negotiating?
And then frankly, if you do re-sign him, then it's like, okay, well, you're gonna have to get rid of like a lot of your second line, third
Depth.
line, fourth
Yeah.
line guys and go get $1 million players.
So here's what I heard. Actually, this is not what I heard. This is what Frank Saravalli is the one who broke this trade. Frank Saravalli tweeted on Friday night, like probably an hour after. He tweeted out, not sure what teams were involved, but he said the trade that ended up going through was not even the biggest trade on the table that day.
Ooh, ominous.
So, just racking my brain for players throughout the league that would be considered a bigger deal than Rantanen that might be actually available for trade, there's very few
Throw some names out there.
on that level, I'll say.
Throw some names.
So first, I don't think this is like a thing,
Uh-huh.
but I just think he's in the same situation as Rantanen is.
Hmm.
He's an upcoming free agent. Will they? Won't they? What's the money going to be like? Is Marner? But I don't. The Leafs aren't trading Marner.
I don't think they are either. I don't think that's real. I don't think they trade Marner. I think they
That's
sign him.
just that's the one of the players that comparable to that level
Would be that
that
big of a
I'm just like
splash.
that big of a splash that is like could he possibly be traded? The only other player I can think of is Sidney Crosby.
There's an interesting one.
We're just gonna say that for now because we're gonna get to Pittsburgh later.
Okay.
Now we touched on the Colorado side of things, why they couldn't re-sign him. It's pretty public knowledge at this point, but it was pretty obvious when the trade happened.
Yeah.
I think everybody knew. On the Carolina side of things, so number one for the here and now, where does this put Carolina? Like, what
Oh.
rank are there as Cup favorites?
I think at a minimum, the expectation at this point is you're about to make a conference final.
I think they have to, at the very least, get out of the Metro, so conference final, and then not get swept like they have in the past in the conference final. I think that's bare minimum.
Yeah.
Um, in terms of like, if you look at it in the East, I'd probably put Florida ahead of them, and then like New Jersey, Toronto are kind of on their level.
So, okay. So Rantanen's obviously going to be top line. That's a huge production
Yeah,
guy. I'm curious where Hall fits within their lineup.
he'll be third line.
So maybe he gets a couple goals. It's still one veteran leadership in the
Yep.
room. Guy who's willing to work. Hopefully he's feeling better from his injury. I don't know what his recent games have been like. Um, you're filling some big holes here in terms of like
Yeah.
top level talent that are going to score likely
Yeah.
most games.
Yeah, like Drury was probably I would imagine was the fourth line center. Right now, Hall is slotted on the fourth line.
Okay.
I'm not sure how long
Don't
that
love
lasts,
that as a fourth line guy. Third line guy, sure.
but don't think like Martinook and Stahl have played consistently together, and I think they played well together this year. So I
Yeah.
don't think they want to separate that. Robinson has been playing a lot of top 6 minutes. Kotkaniemi is your second line center. Jackson Blake's on the first line right now. That's interesting. Seth Jarvis is playing on the third line, so that's
Hmm.
maybe that third line is more of a second line. You have Martinook, Stahl, and Jarvis. That's a very good third line.
Very good third line.
Um,
I love Jarvis.
like Roslovic and Hall on your fourth line is pretty very good.
Yeah.
That's very good.
Roslovic struggled the last 2 months or so,
But
but
like Roslovic at his best is a solid third line player.
very much so. Yeah.
Actually, could be a second line player depending on the team.
Yeah.
So,
When he was in Columbus, I
yeah,
think he was a second line
and
guy.
then that decor is solid.
Yeah.
And when Freddie's healthy, he plays well. And when he's not, you still have Kochetkov. So Carolina's in good position here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would say Florida's the only team that in the East that's like I rank them above Carolina for sure.
This is going to be a big thing of, okay, you separated Rantanen from McKinnon. Can he still do it?
Yeah,
And who his line mates are.
yeah.
Oh, I think it's going to go well.
You would probably put Carolina on the level of like Toronto, New
Yeah.
Jersey, and Washington at this point. Maybe Tampa, maybe in the mix there. Does this trade kind of put them ahead of those teams?
Some of them, yeah. I think it puts him ahead of New Jersey because I think New Jersey doesn't have the same level of depth, nor defensive capability, frankly. I think that,
Just Carolina's more of a playoff team,
yeah,
and that help. And this,
there's an argument for this puts them ahead of the Leafs. I don't think this puts them ahead of Florida.
no, no,
In Tampa,
no.
Tampa's not even, no. So I think it does make a big difference for them, yeah. And I think it
Yeah,
makes them
yeah.
probably second favorite.
Second favorite out of the East.
Yeah,
Out of the East, you still have all the teams in the West.
yeah.
Where do you think it puts them like league wide if you include the West teams? Because that's the gauntlet there. And like in the West, you have Vegas,
Vegas,
Edmonton, Dallas,
Dallas.
Colorado, Winnipeg. Minnesota's having a good year. LA's having a good
Unfortunately,
year.
I think Winnipeg is not going to do well in the playoffs. I think, unfortunately, they burned too bright
I would
early.
say the true cup contenders out west are Vegas,
Vegas,
Edmonton, Dallas, maybe Colorado.
Draisaitl's having a hell of a
Yeah.
freaking year. Um, I think this takes off Colorado. I think that Vegas is still going to be very tough. I think that LA, I think
They're better than LA.
they're
They're better
better
than
than
LA.
LA. Are they better than Dallas? I'm gonna say they're better than Dallas. I think this is enough of where it kind of edges out. I really do believe that. I think this gives them just so many this frees up production. This makes it so that you don't need as much depth scoring and takes a little bit of the pressure off that because they do rely heavily on depth scoring. Now you've got a superstar
So
to get them over that line.
let's say they're between fourth to sixth favorite.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I think Florida is you got to beat the champs to be
Do
the champs.
do you think it edges them over Dallas? It's
I think
tough.
Dallas has shown more in the playoffs recently
I
than Carolina,
agree. I agree. I think I don't know. I'm just wondering if this is enough to where
and I think you can rely on Ottinger a little bit more than Carolina's goaltending.
100%. Yeah. If Freddie gets hurt, like
Yeah,
I don't think Coach
I think
Tov.
Carolina's decor is better.
Yeah,
I would say the forward depth is one of the strengths of both teams. One of the highest end depth,
or both.
both teams
Yeah,
highest end depth forward teams in the league.
I think it's really compelling.
That's tight.
It's super
I
compelling.
I would say probably put Florida first,
Yeah,
and then Carolina, Dallas, Vegas, and Edmonton are the next tier.
yeah, I
Whatever
agree.
order you want to put that in. And if Nate just pops off in Colorado, I could see a
If Nate
path
just can find some
see a
chemistry,
path for Colorado being in
yeah,
that mix as well.
yeah.
I'm not gonna say it will, but I can see a path if Colorado's healthy.
Trades like these are just so fun for the
Yeah,
league because it dismantles.
that's the one thing the one thing I don't like about the cap. I like the cap for the parity around the league, but it takes away. You can't do the big deals as often. Bless you.
Sorry, folks.
Yeah. Somebody mentioned it to me like the Eichel trade. in terms of like the quality of the player, yes, but it wasn't middle of the season.
No.
He had a lot of injuries, and it was more of a get me out of Buffalo situation.
Yeah, it was
Whereas
a
like Rantanen is kind of like, wow,
this is okay, you have a team that is really good and is giving away one of their core parts.
this is like,
Buffalo was like, he hates it there.
yeah,
They don't like him. Frankly, Buffalo is not treating him well.
and they disagreed on like a plan to get him
The
back from
fans
injury.
didn't like him.
Yeah. Joe Thornton is the one that comes to mind for me. It's the last trade of this magnitude in the middle of the season,
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
and that's first year post lockout. That's almost 20 years ago.
I can't
In a
believe it.
season where he won MVP.
Yeah.
He played for 2 teams and won MVP. That's crazy. Okay, so let's go back to last week's stuff. We had to talk about Vancouver.
Okay.
So the rumor last Saturday night was that JT Miller was going to be a healthy scratch against Edmonton because he was on the precipice of being traded to the New York Rangers.
NYR.
The trade fell through,
Yep.
and Miller played that night.
And we don't know why.
Just they didn't agree on something, obviously. And Miller played that night and was apparent. I didn't watch it, but apparently he was one of the best players on the ice.
Mm-hmm.
So when he brings it, he's there. But it's just a little bit of a. Last year he was very consistent. This year, not so much. He has missed time as well, so you have to give him a little bit of credit for that. A little bit of leeway for that, we'll say. But it seems like Miller is the guy that's going to be traded now. With that, him talking kind of shoot him out on the bench the game before that,
Played 6 minutes
and
in
he
the
didn't
third.
play much in the third.
Yeah. In the second, I think it was 8 minutes.
Yeah.
Slamming his stick on the bench, which Pedersen ended up getting a goal. I don't know if you saw this clip. The next game
Yeah.
after slamming his stick.
Yeah.
There's such bad blood there. He needs to go.
I think it
He
was
needs to
kind
go.
of a given that Miller was going to get traded, but what I'm hearing is that Carolina were trying to get Pedersen.
As opposed to Rantanen, because it would be one or the other. You're not
Carolina was one of the teams that were pushing hard for either Pedersen or Miller. Obviously, they're out of it now because they went and got Rantanen. What I'm hearing is that Buffalo is pushing big for Pedersen.
I don't know if Pedersen fits in Buffalo. I think JT Miller far more fits in Buffalo than.
That's just what is out there. What Elliot Friedman said, that Buffalo is pushing hard for Elias Pedersen. So maybe it's not like as surefire as people think that Miller's going to be the one that gets traded. I still think he is the one that will be traded, just purely based on age.
Yeah.
And like Pedersen has a lot longer deal. He just signed last season. And it seems maybe Miller, a lot of people don't like Miller.
Yeah.
More so than Pedersen.
You're bringing in a guy that's going to be prickly to some people. It's gonna dust up some feathers.
Which you put him in the right situation and he'll be really good.
I agree.
If you put JT Miller on a team like Carolina, I think he fits in.
I think he fits in him. I think he fits in Carolina. I think he fits in Buffalo. I think JT Miller would be a great guy to have in Buffalo.
Teams that like are competing is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, Carolina. You could see him.
Florida, it would fit. It's not going to happen.
Oh no,
but he would fit.
That'd be so clean for Florida.
He would fit for sure.
Boston,
Tampa. I was kind of thinking a little bit. Tampa's not as like a physical team, but they've like been there, done that, and they're just that winning mentality there.
The culture's there for them.
And Boston would be a fit, but I don't consider Boston a contender.
And I think Point, Hagel, Cirelli would all embrace JT Miller. I think he would do well there. He'd fit in.
Your first line was Gensel, Point, Kucherov. Your second line was Hagel, Cirelli, Miller.
Yeah. And that kind of fixes a big problem for them. Now you need less out of your depth story because you have two really good lines. Scary.
But I don't think that's going to happen.
So given that this deal fell through, do you think he still gets moved by end of season, or is this going to be by the trade deadline?
It seems that way.
And so then it's just where?
Vancouver beat the wheels off of Toronto, but then since then they've been bad.
Yeah.
We're going to get to that Edmonton Vancouver stuff with other things later. They got pumped by Edmonton a couple nights after that. It's just not working.
No,
Um,
something's got to give.
I have been vocal on saying I would prefer if you just look at pure like the players, don't look at no other factors. I would keep Miller, but obviously you have to look at other factors. Pedersen is probably high end talent wise, higher ceiling. It's just whether he could put the consistency together, and then plus he's younger and the new deal and blah blah blah, all that stuff.
Hmm.
It seems like Miller to the Rangers is kind of inevitable.
I don't know why the Rangers though, because this isn't then a okay. We're gonna go get a guy who we can win with this season. I could see it being maybe
The
like
Rangers
a.
have turned it. We're gonna get to that, but they've turned it around a little bit.
I've noticed,
Yeah.
and I was surprised
Yeah.
after dealing so. I don't know.
Anyway, yeah, I don't know if you have anything else on Miller. It seems inevitable that he's going to the Rangers. They've been the number one team in the mix for Miller for a long time.
Curious what held him back then.
Yeah, I think there's still a lot of time to
If
negotiate
they're
here.
still if they're still talking, then that's fine. And then it becomes what are you getting in return? Who wants out
It
of
sounds
New
like it
York?
would be like a forward, a pick, and maybe Vancouver wants a defenseman, and the Rangers aren't willing to give it up.
Is it like a Panarin? Is
No,
it
no, no,
a
no. Like maybe like a Kreider,
okay?
something like that. Maybe
Zibanejad?
they offered Zibanejad straight up for I don't know if it was Miller or Pedersen. I forget now. We talked about it a couple
If
weeks
I'm
ago.
Vancouver, I'm not taking
Like,
that.
but no, Vancouver. I wouldn't do
Zibanejad's
it
that'd
either
be
one
insane.
for Vancouver, but just what they offered. So obviously the Rangers consider Zibanejad. If they think 1-for-1 is fair, they're not going to give him up in a 2-for-1 or a three
Yeah,
for one.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it looks like maybe like a Keandre Miller type defenseman, and then like
Who's been struggling?
yeah,
Not had a good
yeah.
season.
Maybe Talkett's a better coach for Miller.
It could be similarly.
Yeah,
You need to get some guys out of
yeah.
New York, and suddenly you're seeing it in Kako. Get some guys out of New
And
York,
then
and
like a
they
Kreider or like a
you're not
I'm
doing
not going to say Heedle, but like a Heedle type player,
okay. Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Like something like that. Lafreniere's been kind of thrown in the mix. I don't think he's going
I don't
anywhere.
think they move him. I think
Yeah.
they're too invested in him, and I think he likes it there.
Yeah. Okay. Elsewhere, John Klingberg signed Edmonton for a million.
Yeah.
Came out to a million. Interesting signing. Edmonton doesn't need help on the back end.
It seemed weird. It just kind of
It's
seemed like
weird. He hasn't played yet. He's still hurt. So we'll see.
is that just a hey, we'll take a shot. We'll give you a couple games depending on if you like it or not. We're either going to trade you or
Yeah,
you're not going to play
I
anymore.
think it's kind of Edmonton has struggled on not as much lately. They've been a lot better lately, but I think they kind of just want another puck moving guy on the
Yeah.
back end.
Yeah.
And he's cheap, and we'll see what
For a
happens there.
million,
He
you
could
can
be a liability defensively,
for
like
a
he
million
has
you can
been,
take the
but
risk.
you can take the risk, right? And if you think he is, you just scratch him, whatever,
He went for
right?
more than I thought. I thought I was just going to be league
I
minimum.
thought it'd be league minimum too, but just to kind of buzz through it a little bit. Siplikov of the Islanders was suspended 3 games for the hit on Poling. I know you saw it. I showed it to you.
Yep.
I thought it was kind of deserved.
I thought it was deserved too.
Yeah, it was.
Especially once you see the multiple
Yeah,
angles.
yeah. A couple other things just to go through quickly. Braden Point got scratched last week for missing a team meeting. So that's the calls from Tampa.
Yeah. We're accountable.
You're held accountable.
Doesn't matter who you are. Don't
You're
care
one of
about
the better
the
players on the team. Doesn't matter.
whatever name's on the back of that jersey.
Cooper is holding you accountable.
Yep.
Which is
I
what I'd like
like
to
that.
see, especially for Team Canada coming up.
There you go.
Drew Doughty is back skating. Sounds like he's close to return, and LA has played this well without him.
Yeah.
So it could be they're a threat.
It astounds me Drew Doughty is still playing.
He's still really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This guy loves puck.
Yeah. Eric Stahl, number retired by the Carolina Hurricanes.
Very nice.
Good to see. A couple nights after Jordan Stahl scored a hat trick on the Leafs.
A little less like to see that.
But cool to see that Eric gets his number retired and on the same team that Jordan currently plays for.
Yeah.
That's cool to see. The brothers.
Yeah.
And a nice ceremony.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we talked about it a little bit. We're gonna go over it a little quicker than what we did last week. But Eric Stahl is underappreciated.
Yeah.
Very, very good hockey player. Even late, like he had a couple good years in Minnesota. He helped Carolina do a cup when he was young. Excuse me. and he was one of the guys that kind of kept Carolina afloat.
Yeah.
Him and like Cam Ward,
Yeah.
where that team maybe didn't have the high end talent that other teams had, but they were still making the playoffs a pretty consistent amount, and they were in the mix.
Yeah.
They never won again, but and he was like Team Canada. He played very well for Team Canada at the junior level and the pro level. So just an underappreciated guy. Do we think he's a Hall of Famer?
Honestly, maybe.
I think he's a fringe.
He is
He's
a
a
fringe.
fringe.
If
Yeah,
he is, he's a fringe.
yeah.
You could see who else would be in that class era. Mm, maybe.
I think I not first ballot. Like
No,
it's going to be a little bit. You probably have to wait a bit. I think eventually he'll get
I think so.
it. Yeah,
That'd be nice.
yeah. Another topic we talked about last week. I'm not sure if this is still the case, but at one point last week, Connor Hellebuck had the same number of losses as shutouts on the season, which is
Unbelievable.
unbelievable. And we talked about it. Does if Hellebuck plays like this for a full season because he plays a lot of games, is he in the running for the Hart? Is he one of the favorites for the MVP?
We looked at it and it's like, okay, well, who else is in the running?
So you're gonna have. I think Kaprizov is hurt by the fact that he has been out for a little bit. If he comes back and lights it up, then he's probably still in the mix. But he's
He's
hurt
been
by
out for
that.
such a long time that it's like
Yeah. Uh,
smaller
McKinnon,
sample
of
size.
course, is in there, and I would say Drysdale's probably the favorite at this point.
Unbelievable season from Draisaitl, especially the last couple months.
Yeah, but if you look at it, like if you take Drysdale off of Edmonton, you take McKinnon off of Colorado, they're not as good,
Correct.
but they're still good teams.
Yep. Hellebuck, you take him
I
away,
think Winnipeg might miss the playoffs if
they'd
they
be
don't have Hellebuck.
collapsing.
I don't think they're in the. They might not be in a playoff spot, and that's crazy to say because they're the first place team
The
in
impact
at
that
least the Central. I think maybe they've been passed for first in the league, but like
the
top
impact he's
three,
had
four
is
team in the league.
unbelievable.
Yeah,
I think there's a real strong argument. I think he's one or two. If he doesn't get it, he's second place.
Winnipeg is second in the NHL right now. Yeah, and I know it's a lot harder for a goalie to get it. Price got it around I think 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Theodore had it a little bit like
Did he really?
early 2000s. He got one. No, Hasek has won one, I believe. So it's happened, but it's hard.
Rare.
But if Hellebuck can keep this up, he has one more loss than shutouts now. So he's lost one regulation game since then. But 30 wins, 7 losses, 2 overtime losses, 202 GAA, 926 save percentage, and 6 shutouts. And this is like a little over halfway through the season.
Yeah.
So, and they played 50 games. He's played 39 of them. In today's NHL, that's
That's
not
wild.
normal.
No. That's pretty wild.
So I would put him in the mix.
I agree.
I would put him as one of the three players. Like they always not there's always three nominees for every award. I would put him at this point in the season, he would be one of the three for me.
Agreed.
We'll see what happens to end the year, but okay. Let's talk about Pittsburgh a little bit. So a couple of things. So for the second time this year, the Penguins have waived Tristan Jarry. This doesn't look good on Dubas. Dubas signed him for $5 million a year a couple summers ago.
Just
Does
ridiculous.
not look great.
Just ridiculous is what it is.
On the positive side, in net, last week Alex Nedeljkovic became the first goalie in NHL history to score and assist in the same game.
That's so cool.
That's unbelievable. So congrats to him in a not so great season for the club. So, but a little bit of positives. We'll go back down a little bit of negatives. Gino Malkin was the most recent victim to pro athletes being robbed while they're at a game.
Yeah.
They did say he lost his cup rings, but I think they've been found.
Yeah.
So I don't think they were actually taken. I think that was just a rumor.
It's just scary to go through.
Yeah. And like, yeah, I get it. Like they're millionaires, but like they're still humans.
They're human
like,
beings.
it's still a invasion of privacy.
Yeah.
And the last positive thing we're going to talk about Pittsburgh because we always have to pump Crosby's tires on every episode. Sidney Crosby passes Marcel Dion for the 11th most assists in NHL history and climbs up the list even further. Staying on Pittsburgh, the rumor out there is that Kyle Dubas is in fire sale mode and Pittsburgh is going to blow it up.
This is very compelling.
It's being said that Crosby is probably not at the top of their trade list. They don't want to deal him.
Okay.
I think Carlson's probably number one on that list. I think a lot of other guys will be higher on the list. And then out of the old guard, you'd probably say Malkin and Letang are more likely to be traded than Crosby.
I could see Letang being dealt.
I think there's a lot of respect there in Pittsburgh with Crosby.
Yeah.
I think they're going to leave it up to him.
This was, I think, the point you made last night, which was like, I think that's the most likely thing. There's got to be a conversation that's been had where it's like, this is what we're planning on doing. Do you want to be here or no?
It's similar to Lemieux's ending in Pittsburgh, where Pittsburgh struggled.
Yeah.
Crosby has won his 3 cups.
Yep.
So he doesn't need to go cup hunting. He's already one of the greatest players ever. Like his legacy is intact. There's no reason. So I think there a lot of people say that it could be Sid values being a guy who plays for one team his whole career. And I think that's a valid argument to why he might stay.
Yeah.
I think at this point it's going to be a summer by summer thing because Sid didn't sign that new deal right away. I think they were waiting to have a conversation, maybe with Dubas and with the rest of management, to say, are we blowing it up? Are we still trying to win? If we're going to try to win, I'm going to stay. Obviously, he signed the deal.
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't gone well this year for the team. So maybe now this offseason they look at it and say, Sid goes to Dubas and says, okay, are we blowing it up? And if Dubas says yes, maybe Sid says, okay.
You can go get some pieces for me.
If you want to trade me, I'll take the trade, but he probably will dictate where he would want to go.
Oh, absolutely.
Now this is where we bring in
he's on phenomenal money too.
Was Sid to Colorado maybe that deal that Saravelli was talking about? What if Chicago wasn't the third team? What if Pittsburgh was the third team?
Go eat some cap.
Pittsburgh was there to broker the deal.
I think that's a very interesting narrative.
I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not saying it's true.
Do you think
it's definitely a rumor?
So, okay, Pittsburgh's a seller.
Yeah, at this point, was from what we're hearing, yeah.
Is there any other teams? Because that kind of does this disqualify Colorado from still maybe pursuing Sid? Because this seems like we just traded away our top guys, one of them at least.
Yeah.
So does this disqualify us? And if so, is someone else a more likely candidate? If this is, because honestly, if those conversations were happening, if I'm Sid, I'm looking at that. Hey, do you want to go to Colorado? If they have had that conversation, sure. Looking at it, yeah, I could go play with Nathan McKinnon from the same town, I believe.
Yeah.
And there's still Cale McCart. Like he would be very good wherever he goes, but that's a nice team that he could maybe go get one more with. If he is open to being traded. If that is no longer on the table, is there any other buyer that makes sense that Sid would also be willing to go to?
I think Montreal, because that's who he was. That's who he wanted. That was his favorite team growing up. I know they're not going to be in the mix to win anything, but I think it's just kind of like maybe a bucket list thing. Play for the Montreal Canadiens.
It's such a storied franchise.
The most historic franchise in
and they're
hockey.
Not terrible. They're not good, but they're not terrible.
They could make the playoffs.
Okay.
A little interruption.
But we're back.
So basically, we're talking about Pittsburgh, where Sid could possibly go.
Right.
I don't think Sid's going anywhere. this season. I think if it does happen, it's an off season or next year,
Yeah.
unless Pittsburgh gets an offer that's like crazy and Sid's like, okay, yeah, I'll do it.
Because that's the thing. Like,
Yeah,
you're going to get more desperation with teams trying to make a run now and
yeah,
willing to maybe give up more picks, stuff like
yeah.
that, stuff that Pittsburgh should be in the market for.
And like the rent and trade kind of opens up a little bit of more cap room for the Avs to maybe do something like this,
Yeah.
especially if they're saying, well, Landeskog won't be back this year, so
Yeah.
we'll see. I'm tossed out Montreal just as the team that Crosby grew up, and I know that when he got drafted, that was the team that he wanted to get drafted to.
Yeah.
Um, so it could just be like a bucket list thing. Go play for the Habs, even if maybe he puts them over the edge. Maybe they do get in the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
Bring Montreal back to the playoffs. That could be fun. Um, yeah, I can't see. I would imagine Colorado would be the front runners,
Yeah. Even still.
even still. Yeah. It opens up some cap room for them. Maybe helps out some depth a little bit.
Yeah, it does. It
Yeah,
certainly does.
spreads out like maybe middle stat goes third line center or he plays on the wing. It kind of spreads out a little bit.
Have Sis as
Sid will
a
be second
second
line
line.
center. Yeah, I would imagine it's McKinnon's team, so
Yeah.
and Sid's up there. So
And Sid has
and it would be less pressure on Sid. Sid doesn't have to be the main guy anymore.
no.
Sid can be a complementary
He doesn't have
piece.
to be the playmaker
He's
and the
not
goal
even the second
scorer.
guy. He wouldn't even be the second guy anymore. You used to have McKinnon and McCarr.
Yeah.
And imagine that power play.
Holy smokes.
Oh my god, that'd be fucked. So yeah, anyway, Pittsburgh sounds like they're in fire sale mode according
Yeah.
to Dubas. Just a disaster of a job by him. That Jari contract we talked about, the Carlson trade is not panned out.
This makes no sense.
It's just yeah, it's not looking good.
No.
And they have pieces like Raquel would be a really good piece for a playoff team.
Mm-hmm.
Guys like that, right? So Pittsburgh has we'll see what happens. Okay, quick signing, quick extension. The Rangers extended Will Borgen to a 5-year, $20.5 million deal, which comes out to 4.1 AAV. Uh,
Decent.
Solid money for him.
Yeah.
Solid money for him. I just tossed that out there. Okay, so we talked about Vancouver a little bit already. We mentioned the game. So last Saturday night, Edmonton, Vancouver, on the day that JT Miller almost got traded, there was some fireworks.
Connor Garland.
So basically, Connor Garland holds McDavid down. It's the last 10 seconds of the game. He kind of gets him out of the play. Probably should have got a penalty, but he didn't. He got away with it.
It's 10 seconds left. Who cares
Yeah,
if I take a
yeah.
penalty?
Um, let's
Gets
come
it.
back to that.
Okay.
Let's come back to that. There's something I want to discuss that has nothing to do with any team with that. But um, so at the end of the game, there was a big scrum with Garland and McDavid was one of the things involved. They kind of back and forth. Garland takes him out of the play. The game ends. McDavid's not happy.
Connor gets up.
Connor gets up, little cross check to the face, and then a couple like a minute later, kind of 30 seconds later, Myers is off in the corner, and he dishes out his own cross check. I don't know who it was on. I can't remember who it was on. It was a week ago. Um, and then since then, Myers and McDavid have both been suspended for 3 games. I believe last night was McDavid's last
Yeah.
game. And Myers, I would imagine, is similar. He'll probably be back
And
this.
Edmonton doesn't play tonight. I think they're back
No, no.
tomorrow or Tuesday.
Yeah. Specifically, what I wanted to talk about is McDavid with penalties.
Okay.
Now, this year, there's a lot. The thing going out there is that McDavid is whatever 200th in the NHL, 180th in the NHL in drawing penalties this year, and that he should be getting more calls. Blah blah blah. Okay, this year he's low on the totem pole. If you look at previous years, he's consistently been top of the league in drawing penalties.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's saying the same people that say the reason they love hockey and the reason they hate sports like basketball and football is because those sports cater to their stars.
Hey,
big,
LeBron James, that was not a travel, even though he
yeah.
took 7 steps.
LeBron, phantom foul calls when he drives the lane. Like you said, 7 steps on the travel. Uh, Big controversy in the NFL right now with Mahomes milking some stuff a little bit. Diving is a little bit of a, and football is a physical
Is
sport.
is a full
Football
contact,
is the most physical sport.
kind of a central thing to
Yeah,
the sport.
and
You're gonna be taking a hit every play
yeah,
for some guys.
so it's kind of like, and a lot of people have been vocal about not agreeing with that.
Mhm.
But then we go the other way, and hockey's the opposite. They don't cater to every little thing, and they do. Let's be honest. It's just not to the extent
The
that other sports get.
the fact that embellishment is a penalty.
Yeah,
If embellishment was a
yeah,
penalty in soccer, no one would be
yeah,
on the field.
yeah. It'd be straight reds for the whole game. Um, Now listen, I think it's a little ludicrous to think that McDavid doesn't get calls.
Yeah.
I think that's just my opinion.
He's naturally going to draw more penalties, one, because of his speed and
Speed,
score-making ability.
speed.
Uh,
Yeah,
when
yeah,
defensemen take penalties like hooking,
yeah,
holding, stuff like that, it's because 'cause they're getting
yeah.
beat on the speed.
What I will say, I actually, and I am critical of McDavid,
No!
and
What?
more so the media's treatment of McDavid. That's
What?
mostly of what I'm critical of. But I will say here, I love it. I love it from him.
Little bit of a villain role?
Protect yourself a little bit. Get in the mix here.
No, nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
You've got a little bit of a
Y-
spree for
You
McDavid.
do that. The elbow
Little
the
chicken
game
wing?
before
Little
that he got
chicken wing?
nothing for, that
Not a
should
little.
have been a penalty.
And, like, don't get me wrong, the cross check to the face
Yeah.
was not a be all end all. He didn't, like, go out to be
No,
like,
no,
"I'm
no,
about to
no,
end
no,
this guy's
no.
breathing unalive."
Yeah,
But it's like, it was a little bit, "Go fuck
yeah.
yourself."
But I like that. A little bit of
Low
fucking
grit.
bite.
Low
Give me a
grit.
nastiness. And now maybe people are gonna say, well, he is gonna retaliate. He is gonna do that. Maybe I'm gonna give him a little bit of extra space because
Mhm.
I know what's gonna come, right?
Yeah. You know
That's what
when
you
the kid
need.
stops getting bullied, it's when that
Yeah.
guy's a threat now.
This is what I'm gonna say this right here. So I am critical of Mahomes for the same things that I'm critical of McDavid. But at this point in time, Mahomes has actually won
Yeah.
when it matters.
McDavid,
McDavid ha-
close, but no
McDavid has
cigar. Close, but no cigar.
um but I will have tons more respect for McDavid if he has to earn it
It
in
doesn't
the
just whine.
NHL and he's not getting the calls that he wants, but he battles through it and they go and win one cup. I will have a million times more respect for McDavid if he wins one cup compared to Mahomes winning seven, getting whatever call he gets because the NFL needs to cater to him.
Yeah.
100 times more respect for McDavid if that happens.
I tend to agree with you in the sense of, like, I think this is an evolution, and some people would be
Yeah,
like, "This is a degradation." It's not.
no.
Standing up for yourself and not just taking it, not being the guy who whines and needs the penalties, that's what's gonna get the job
And
done. Because when you don't get the penalty,
yeah,
suddenly you're not looking at the ref, you're continuing the play.
yeah,
Marner does that a lot, where Marner thinks he gets a call, he just instantly looks for the ref, he's not looking at the puck
yeah.
then, and play's still live.
And I don't disagree with the suspension either. I know a lot of people, well, Myers should be getting more games. Edmonton, Vancouver play each other
You
this week.
cross-check the guy to the
You
face.
cross check the guy in the face. There has to be repercussions.
It'd be worse if there wasn't any.
Yeah,
That would be the
yeah.
Mahomes
I know a
scenario.
lot of people were saying one game, Edmonton and Vancouver play each other Thursday. You don't want him on the ice. McDavid, even if McDavid protects himself, it's not like McDavid's going out on the ice to goon guys
No,
up, even if he is in the lineup.
no.
Like, it's not changing anything.
It was an emotional kind
Yeah.
of, like,
Hey,
reaction
come
of,
on,
"I'm frustrated,
relax.
I'm sick of
Yeah.
this shit."
Yeah. So you are telling McDavid, we will hold you accountable if you do things. Prove us wrong.
Yeah.
And if McDavid battles through it and goes and wins, I'll have respect.
I think that would be probably the most widely accepted
Yeah.
criticism of
I'll have
McDavid.
I have tons of I know it seems like I hate McDavid. It's more I hate the attention
Yeah.
and the let's cater to him. That's what I hate about it.
Mhm.
I don't personally hate the person.
Mhm.
I think he needs to sports in general, because of the way things are, the money, the players have more power. It's more we got to cater to this guy's every little need, and they don't have to go earn it as much as they used to.
This guy sells a lot of jerseys.
Yeah.
A lot of
So we're just
jerseys.
going to cater to whatever he wants, give him whatever money he wants. We'll give you all the ice time or all the playing time, whatever sport it is.
Yeah.
That's what I don't like. McDavid's talent level is off the charts.
Yes.
It's crazy off the charts. I don't agree with saying a guy that's 27, 28, because he put up a lot of points in the regular season, he's the best player of all time.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's disrespectful to the players in the past that have gone out and earned it.
Mm.
Could he be one of the best players of all time? Yes. Is he
There's
very high up the list at this point in time? He is very high up the list, but he is not in the same conversation as guys like Gretzky, as Lemieux, as even Crosby yet,
right.
because those guys have gone out and proved it. If McDavid goes out in the playoffs and he has produced points in the playoffs, but he hasn't won the cup. You got to win when it matters.
You can't be called the
Prove it.
greatest of all time without a
Prove
cup.
it. And I know it's a lot harder in this era as previous eras. There's a lot more
Sure.
teams.
More competition.
There's more competition. Goaltending's better. I get that. But goaltending was bad for everyone back then. So it's an even playing field.
Yeah.
It's always been.
If the bias is systematic, then it applies to everyone.
Oh, don't tell me McDavid's talent level. If Gretzky had all the advantages that McDavid has had growing up, you don't think with that hockey IQ off the charts like that he would still be that good? Obviously, the points wouldn't be as high as what they were.
Yeah.
You have to adjust it to the era, but don't tell me that Gretzky wouldn't be good.
Yeah.
Don't tell me that Lemieux wouldn't be good.
As long as Lemieux has the
Actually,
hair.
if you put Lemieux in today's era, he'd be way better.
I think so.
Because you can't shop. Lemieux's problem was injuries. Bobby Orr's problem was injuries. You can't do now what they could do to those guys then.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a little bit more. There's guys on the ice that might protect those players better back then than what they will now.
You're still eating those injuries.
But you won't take the contact that you take.
Yeah.
Right? So I think if you put those players in today's era and you give them the same advantages
They
growing up,
accelerate.
they're still going to be good players.
Yeah.
They're still going to be phenomenal players.
Agreed. Agree with the take.
Hockey IQ should be number one over everything else. And Gretzky had that above and beyond, like a million miles before his time. So don't disrespect the great one. All right?
Okay.
McDavid is a phenomenal player. But if he goes out and proves it and goes out and wins the big one and maybe a couple,
then maybe it opens up the conversation.
He's in the conversation.
But it's not a conversation until that happens.
Until that happens, it's not a conversation. And I don't think anyone touches a Gretzky ever.
To go back and just be like how far ahead he was of his time.
Yeah.
Part of like being a really good player is learning from those who've come before you.
Yeah.
When there was no one like you before you, and you had the vision, and you just understood the game, and you understood how we're gonna win.
Yeah.
There's no one that comes. No one is that far ahead of every one of their peers since Gretzky.
Yeah. And guys like McDavid and Crosby are ahead of their peers. Lemieux ahead of his peers, but they're not like off the charts, like ridiculously better than
like
everyone
literally,
else.
if one team goes and gets this guy, it completely changes your ability to win a Stanley Cup. Not just like get better,
and
win a
that's no
Stanley
disrespect to all these other players, but it's not the same.
No.
We got off track a little bit. Obviously, Edmonton and Vancouver played again Thursday. Both those guys missed that game. Edmonton went out and pumped Vancouver. Vancouver has issues. We've talked about them already. I would like to see Edmonton and Vancouver in the playoffs again.
Settle some scores.
That was a fun series last year, and what's happened in the regular season this year, it would be a fun series.
Just add some more gasoline to that fire.
Yeah. Now that would mean that Edmonton would have to pass Vegas, which they have already. They're a point up on Vegas for the division because it's likely that Vancouver will have to get in through the wild card.
Yeah.
Um, maybe we throw Calgary in the mix in this conversation because they won't go away.
It amazes me how they're
And
still
honestly,
moving.
they kind of they're 3 points up on Vancouver with a game in hand. So not like pull away, but they're starting to pull away a little bit. Vancouver, they're not going away.
It surprises me.
Yeah. We're almost 50 games in and they're still there.
They're getting it done.
Dustin
They're
Wolf is
trudging
still
along.
quietly getting it done. Calgary just a bitch to play against night in, night out.
Yeah.
And they're hanging in there. They don't score a lot, but they don't let in a lot. And they just won't go away. Now in the West, obviously the East we've talked about. There's a ton of teams in the mix for the 2 wild cards. In the West, I think it's kind of the 3 teams in the Central. There's 3 teams in the Pacific. Those are the teams, and then Colorado is in there. That where Colorado maybe passes like Minnesota, right?
Right.
As either the first wild card or whatever.
Yeah.
It's kind of for the last wild card. It's Calgary, Vancouver, St. Louis, and Utah. Seattle maybe, but I think Seattle and Anaheim are kind of
Lower down.
yeah. They're not far off points wise, but I don't think those two
Anaheim's turned
teams.
it around a little bit more than I
Anaheim
thought
has
they
improved,
would.
which is good to see.
Yeah.
They're not ready yet.
No.
Seattle, I don't think is quite there.
No. But
Utah,
gotten better. They're beating
yeah,
some good teams.
yeah, they have improved from the start of the season.
Yeah.
Utah and St. Louis are just kind of hovering. They're staying in the mix a little bit.
I like Utah. I'd love to see
Yeah.
Utah make the wild card.
Now, we talked about Vancouver. Obviously, if it was Edmonton, Calgary, that would be a great series too.
Yeah. Battle of Alberta.
Out of Alberta. I think Vancouver would probably have a better chance of beating Edmonton, though, if we're being honest.
Yeah. Objectively,
Vancouver
yes.
at their best.
Yeah.
Like Vancouver, they went to Game 7 last year. It was a super tight series. So
No, I do think Vancouver's far worse this year than they were last
100%.
year. Yeah.
But if they can figure it out,
Any given series.
if they can figure out and get in,
Yeah. Then who knows?
who knows? Right? It's if they play that well in the back half, they still have almost half the season left. You can still turn it around and you play that well. Now you have that momentum going into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Where it's like are on the same level as we were last year. Now they still have a lot to do to get to that point, and Edmonton's been very good lately. But either way, if Edmonton plays either Vancouver or Calgary, assuming they do win the Pacific, obviously they'll be in a dogfight with Vegas for the rest of the season for that top spot. Whoever doesn't get it will most likely play LA in the first round. But it'll be a good series either way. I think Edmonton Calgary is more of it's a battle of Alberta. Whereas Edmonton Vancouver, yes, it's a rivalry, but like the on ice stuff has been heated between those two teams.
There's bad blood.
Yeah.
And the history.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's our just wanted to touch on Calgary a little bit, and then Edmonton Vancouver. We'll see. Edmonton Vegas is going to be a battle to the end to the finish line to close out the season. And actually, Dallas has passed Minnesota now for second in the Central. And Colorado's only 2 points back of Minnesota now. So that division is
The
going to come
biggest
down
question
to
mark is how does Colorado react to this? What is their response?
Yeah.
That's the biggest kind of, unknown.
We'll see. Because like you want to win the Central.
Yeah.
Because you do not want to end up in that 2-3 seed in the Central, have to play a stud, win a round, and then play the next stud in the second round, right? Whereas if you get first,
especially
maybe you get a little bit of a breather in the first round.
Especially a 7-round series.
Yeah. But at this point, if you look at it, for Edmonton to play Calgary or Vancouver, they would have to pass Winnipeg because Winnipeg is first in the West right now.
Yeah.
And the first wild card would play the lower division winner, which right now would be Colorado, and then probably ends up being one of Colorado, Dallas, or Minnesota will be the first wild card, and then the other two will be in the Central. Right now, one of those teams would play Edmonton or Vegas in the first round. I'm going to assume Vancouver and Calgary aren't going to pass Colorado. I know it's the points wise that they're not too far back, but just like
I don't think
realistically,
Colorado's not falling off a cliff.
Yeah, they have goaltending's improved. They've steadied it out a little bit. They lose a little bit of goal scoring ran in, but you still have high end players on that team. Minnesota, Kaprizov is back, so maybe you give him a little bit of time to bet in. But Minnesota,
What was his total time off?
it was about a month, I'd say, maybe a
So
little
not
less than a month.
crazy
Not
long, like
crazy,
long, but
not
not
crazy.
crazy long.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think LA is kind of locked into that third spot in the Pacific.
Mm-hmm.
But Calgary and Vancouver aren't that far back from LA, but LA has just been solid enough that we could safely say they probably stay there. Winnipeg has a 6 point cushion on the division lead, so they should be safe for the division.
You'd hope,
Yeah,
so long as nothing
yeah.
crazy happens.
And they would end up playing at this point, it would be whoever gets the last wild card. So Calgary, Vancouver, St. Louis, or Utah.
Yeah.
But obviously, Edmonton and Vegas will have something to say about that. Maybe try and catch Winnipeg and get first on the list.
Yeah.
To avoid that. Where at that case, if that did happen and Winnipeg still won the division, they would be playing one of Dallas, Minnesota, or Colorado in the first round. And if they won, they'd have to play the next one in the next round.
You don't want to
Yeah,
do that.
you don't want that. Okay. Um, let's go east. In the east, first, let's go New Jersey. They're falling off a cliff a little bit.
Yeah.
They've struggled. Markstrom is now hurt, and it's 4 to 6 weeks.
He got run over, did he not?
I didn't see the
It
play.
was by.
And if you look at the standings, New Jersey was in and around the mix. They're actually third in the division now. Carolina has passed them, and Washington is pulling away from both teams. Washington's got a 7 point cushion on Carolina right
Washington is just
now, and a
wild.
9 point cushion on New Jersey.
Um,
So New Jersey has
not having Markstrom is a big deal.
and now they've lost Markstrom. That was with Markstrom; they were falling off a cliff.
Yeah.
Without Markstrom, we'll see.
It's gonna get worse.
They have won 2 in a row.
Who's their goaltending right now? Then
It'll be Jake Allen.
Jake Allen.
But previously, it was not good. It was a 4 game losing streak, and then they beat Seattle, and then they lost, and they won, and then another 4 game losing streak, and they won 2 in a row since then. So it's kind of hit and miss. It's not what they've been throughout the year.
I don't think Jake Allen is going to hold up.
Yeah, I know that Keefe called them out a little bit in the media. The whole team.
Yeah.
We need to wake the fuck up here. And so with Markstrom for the 6th, that means he'll be out of the formations.
It means you're going to be you need to be railing up the score. You need your defense is your defense is already weak. Now your goaltending is weak. You need to be scoring like 5-6 goals a game.
For Sweden though.
Oh, for Sweden.
He's gonna miss the formations.
Shit.
That's it. I got New Jersey. You got anything else on New Jersey?
No, just that I don't know. I don't know if
they're still gonna make the playoffs.
Yeah.
They're one of the 3 teams in the Metro.
If I'm a team above, I wouldn't mind playing them. I'll put it that way.
At this point, yeah. And out of those 3 teams that are pretty much locked into the Central, they're probably the least equipped for playoff hockey.
Yeah.
Especially now that Ryan is in Carolina.
Yeah.
Because Carolina's got the style and they have a little bit of scoring now.
Yeah.
And Washington's got the style. New Jersey's a little bit more fun hockey.
Yeah.
Talent.
Speed.
But come playoff time, is that going to translate?
You need grit. Playoff is grit.
Yeah. So we talked about Markstrom. Markstrom's going to miss the 4 nations, it sounds like. Sweden has some question marks. Because Ullmark is a question mark too.
Jeez.
So that leaves you Gustafsson, who's had a good year. But after that, where do you go? It's kind of like
Swedish goaltending.
Philly. You got Forsberg and Ottawa as the backup.
I'd more closely go with Forsberg than Ersson.
The rumor is right now that Ersson's that would be the next guy.
I don't like that. I don't think Ersson.
Again, Gustafsson would play regardless, but
yeah,
that's just.
You do need a backup just in case.
And then William Karlsson is also a question mark.
Yes, because he's injured now.
Which is a very good center, third line center to have.
What is his injury?
I don't know.
I haven't looked into it. I just saw him hit IR.
So basically, Karlsson and Ullmark are question marks. I think it's safe to say Markstrom's out.
Yeah. It was a bad spill he took.
Yeah, that is not good for Sweden.
He couldn't skate off. He had to be helped off.
Yeah. So Sweden, we'll see what happens.
Maybe too many injuries
it will hurt
to
their
overcome.
Chances a little bit.
Yeah.
Hopefully Gustafsson for their case, Gustafsson plays well like he has been all year.
Yep.
coming
Gustafson's
into
still a
it,
great goalie.
yeah, coming into it, he's probably not the starter.
No,
Gustafson going in
no.
full health for
Allmark
everyone.
should have been the starter, I think.
I disagree. I think Markstrom should be the starter.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Well, now you have neither.
you have neither. I think Gustafson maybe makes a case for the backup, but I think he probably would have been the third goalie.
Yeah.
So Sweden, we'll see what happens, and then New Jersey, we'll see what happens. Um, and then for Ottawa's case too, we touched on it previously a little bit with Allmark out. They got to kind of tread water,
Yeah.
but we did talk about that on the last episode that we actually did record. Okay. Some more positive stuff. A couple teams on in the mix for that wild card. We talked about the big race in the East with all those teams. Let's start with the Rangers. Here come the Rangers. They've turned it around a little bit.
Okay.
Now again, it's still the same. Shesterkin's kind of carrying them because he did get hurt. He came back. He's been lights out ever since.
Sometimes that's all you need to be.
But they're back in it. They're in the mix,
Okay.
and they're playing good hockey.
So
They're winning anyway
this makes more of the argument for
for JT
JT
Miller
Miller.
to come in if the Rangers are going to be there.
Round out some of their
Yeah.
goal scoring.
Like if the Rangers are playing their best hockey, they would be one of the favorites to get into the wild card.
Yeah.
Actually, they would be one of the three teams in the Metro at their best.
If it was
they
all
lost
season.
the conference final last year,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
they had a good start this year. They were first in their division this year.
Yeah.
At one point.
Yep.
So, I don't know if you saw Shesterkin and Brady Tkachuk going at it the other night.
No. What?
There was a big scrum.
Really?
Yeah, there was a big scrum. I can't imagine what Brady's gonna be like if he ever makes the playoffs.
Oh, he's
If
gonna
and
be
when.
nasty. He's
He's
gonna
just
be
gonna be nasty. Like
nasty.
Ottawa's gonna have to reel that guy in because he's just gonna be a nasty bitch to play against.
Yeah. Forget who it was. We saw clips last night because they were playing Ottawa, and somebody hit a goalie, and he was the goalie was feeding him
Yeah.
with the blocker.
Yeah. Yeah, Shesterkin and Brady are going at it a little bit of a scrum.
Love that.
There's a big scrum, and Shesterkin took issue to Brady kind of running him a little bit, and he didn't like it. So that was cool. That was fun to see. I love when a goalie gets in the mix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know what we haven't had in decades? A good goalie fight.
Yeah.
Give me a good goalie fight.
You see him in the minors or like random beer leagues and
Sure.
shit like that every once in a while. You never see it in the NHL.
Little Donnybrook.
Yeah. So yeah, the Rangers are coming. Don't sleep on them.
Okay.
I know I was down on them. I'm still gonna stick to my prediction, but
Yeah.
if they are in the mix, that opens them up for that Miller trade a little bit more.
It makes more sense
and maybe that helps them even more.
Oh, it for sure would
Yeah,
help them.
because
He would fit with that team.
he's their first line center, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
If he
Yeah.
comes in, right?
Yeah.
I would imagine. Okay. The other team in the East I want to talk about who are actually in that last wildcard spot right now, who've been playing a really good hockey. And I think if they do make the playoffs, they're the story of the season, is the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Yeah.
It's a couple of things. So playing really good hockey. Adam Fantilli. In the first year and a half of his career, it's been a little bit of a struggle. Obviously a very good player. The
Mhm.
team isn't been successful. He's gotta learn the NHL game a little bit. Since Monahan, so Monahan has been
Unbelievable.
probably Columbus's best player this year.
Comeback
Best
player.
forward.
Comeback player of the year.
Werenski's been their best player, but
Going back to last year with Monahan.
No, but here's what I'm gonna say. So Monahan, with the Calgary stuff, his reputation kind of took a hit.
Yep.
He rebuilt that in Montreal last year. He was playing well with Montreal
He was
last
playing
year.
okay. He wasn't playing like he is now.
No. But like overall game, not just scoring. Take scoring out of it.
Yeah.
Overall game.
Yep.
He's playing good hockey in Montreal. He got the move to Winnipeg. They lost in the first round of the playoffs, but
I really liked it going to Winnipeg. I thought that was a great acquisition for Winnipeg at the time.
Obviously, in the offseason, him and Goudreau are best friends.
Yeah.
It's probably the main reason he signed in Columbus is to play with his best friend. Obviously, things took a horrible turn.
Catastrophe.
Monahan came out with a vengeance this year, and he was playing really good hockey.
Because he's not just playing for the game.
Yeah. Now, he did get hurt. So since then, Fantilli has gone up to the first line. And Fantilli and the Russians are buzzing.
Answered the call.
Fantilli has been terrific since then.
Marchenko.
Marchenko and Voronkov have been terrific all season long. That line, we watched them play Toronto the other night. They were buzzing.
Yeah.
They are hard to play against.
Yep.
Fantilli got his hat trick in his hometown. But Marchenko and Voronkov, they're just big. They're mean. They have some talent.
Yeah.
Columbus is in the mix. I'm not going to write them off.
The biggest kind of question mark is that goaltending. It's what goaltender shows up that night.
Yeah, it's been a struggle. Merzlikins has been a little better of late.
He's been better of late. He's very like, is he gonna collapse and he's getting dismantled, or is he gonna be unbelievable lights out?
We're gonna see.
They won again.
I'm not gonna sit here and say Columbus is for sure one of my teams. I'm a little bit skeptical of can they sustain this.
Yeah.
But I am not gonna say they can't. They're in the mix.
And this is with Boone Jenner hurt as well.
Boone Jenner is hurt
for
as well.
most of the year.
They were on 6-game win streak, and then they lost to the Rangers in overtime. Lost to the Islanders, beat the Leafs, lost to Carolina, then beat LA last night in overtime. So they're not going away.
They're competitive at a minimum. Yeah.
What I will say, so props to Fantilli playing good hockey. The Russians are playing good hockey. Werenski's one of the best defensemen in the NHL this year. Could be in the mix for the Norris Werenski.
Yeah, very strong candidate. He's in the mix. Very strong candidate.
Goaltending is very off and on, so we'll see. If Columbus makes the playoffs, is Dean Evason the front runner for Coach of the Year?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I don't think anyone else stands out of being Coach of the Like, no one else has done what he's done.
Yeah,
considering how down everyone was on
the team, and like there are some teams that may be like, oh, they didn't make the playoffs last year, or they didn't have the best of seasons, but they're still like you could see them. Like New Jersey had a bad year last year, but you knew the talent was there. Once they got healthy again this year, Keefe would be in the mix for Coach of the Year, but like still, I wouldn't honestly put him in now.
Keefe had better parts.
At the beginning of the season, he would have been like one of the candidates.
Yeah.
Everyone said New Jersey's going to probably make the playoffs after they missed the playoffs. Usually a Coach of the Year is like the biggest turnaround. That's usually what the Coach of the Year ends up being. Columbus was near the bottom of the league.
Detroit, but he came in too late.
The only team you could really say compares would be the team he previously coached in Minnesota. And even Minnesota was not anywhere near as bad as Columbus was, but just like turnaround from last season is what I'm saying.
Turnaround from
last season. And Calgary.
Yeah. Who's even coaching Calgary right now?
What's his name? I can't remember his name. But I would say Evason's the one.
I think
Ryan Huska is Calgary's coach.
Okay.
And Evason would be the favorite. If they don't make the playoffs, I don't think he gets it.
Yeah, because then who does it go to? Then?
I would put Carberry in the mix because Washington's turnaround is. I know they made the playoffs last year, but like they're one of the best teams in the NHL this year. They had no business in making the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
He's in the mix. He's one of the favorites.
Their acquisitions were just so good.
I right now I would say Evason, Carberry, maybe Hines in Minnesota is in the mix. Huska and Calgary's in the mix.
I still think Evason.
But Evason and Carberry would be my front runner.
Yeah. And I think you're right. If they don't make the playoffs, it's not a thing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think,
Carberry.
Yeah. What he's done in Washington is unbelievable.
Okay. Couple of quick things. Kucherov was on a heater. He was on an 11-game point streak. I don't know if it was extended since then. Whether it has or it has not. Just a crazy heater for him. Tampa. If Tampa gets in, it just never. Don't count them out.
Yeah.
They're not having their best season, but Freddie Anderson has returned for Carolina.
Got a win under his belt. It wasn't a great win, but it was a win.
A good situation for Carolina's goaltending, too, is that when Freddie does get hurt, when he comes back, you don't have to throw him under the fire because you can trust Kochetkov.
Yeah. Kochetkov is good enough.
And it's like
He's
they
not
can go, they can
stunning.
kind of like go back and forth, kind of like the Leafs, and then we're gonna see at the end of the year who's been the guy and who's gonna get the job come playoff time.
Yeah,
But you have that.
it's a
You don't have to
luxury to
play
have.
every game.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you know Freddie's injury history.
yeah.
So we kind of talked about the trade stuff where it's like, are the trades coming before the Four Nations? And Rantanen has proved that it is.
Yeah.
And then there's rumors out there for like JT Miller, Pedersen,
Sidney Crosby.
Sidney Crosby, or that's not confirmed by anyone that matters, but we're throwing it out there.
Unconfirmed, but it's a hunch. It's a
It's a
rumor.
hunch. Yeah,
It's, you know,
rumors,
compelling.
rumors. So we won't really touch more on that. I think closer to the like next week and the week
Get
after,
better
we'll be
idea.
closer to it, and maybe some more deals come through. And then once the deadline actually comes, we'll be talking about it.
That'll be, I think the deadline's going to be for smaller pieces, like third
Yeah,
line depth, fourth line
if
depth.
if you've looked at it in like the past 5-6 years, the trades even without the formations have been coming a lot earlier than the deadline.
They're committing.
Teams are kind of going like, I want my guy now. I want the guy to get more time to bet into the team.
What I heard was this Rantanen deal's been like in conversation since the beginning of the season.
I know that it's ramped up over the past month, where it's kind of like Colorado's kind of saying like, okay, we're not going to keep this guy next year.
Yeah.
We can't agree on the money, so let's go get something for him. And I know in the last month they've been putting it out there quite a bit. But at the beginning of the season, like you said, at the beginning of the season, it was talked about.
Yeah.
I don't think it was like fully serious yet, but after all the
Eyes were
negotiations have gone
watching.
on, yeah. Like I don't think Colorado in an if you took all this situation away, they're not making a trade.
No.
I think that's just the best they got offered,
They took it.
and they took it.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and Natchez could be a good piece, and for cheaper.
Yeah.
Not quite the production Rantanen's going to have, but it's going to be cheaper.
Even if it's like 80%
and
of
you
it,
can plug other spots in the lineup a little bit better.
it gives you more flexibility.
Yeah. Okay. Quick one. Tony DeAngelo has signed with the New York Islanders.
Of course he has.
He was in Russia and he kind of just left abruptly, and I know he was having a good year in the K. So obviously this was probably the reason he had NHL teams kind of looking at him. If anyone can handle him, it's Patty Waugh.
Oh, this is gonna be fun to see.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. We're not going
Okay.
to comment too much on it yet because I think he played last night was his first game, but we'll see what happens.
Islanders won last night.
Yeah. So, all right. A little bit of positivity for Easton Cowan.
Okay.
I'm not sure if he's broken it since then, but last I checked, Easton Cowan has tied Mario Lemieux for the longest point streak in CHL history. They call it unofficial because Lemieux did it in one season, whereas Cowan's has been from the end of last season into this season. But I think that counts. I think that's bullshit that you consider that unofficial.
I think that counts. I don't think
Yeah.
that needs an asterisk at all.
Has he broken it? Since then, I'm not sure. Let's see. Yep, he broke it. So he's now at 62 games.
That's crazy.
Which is crazy streak. So it just goes to show you, like, you need to be patient.
Yeah.
He's not a guy that's going to be NHL ready right away, but he has talent. Just exercise a little bit of patience. He plays with the Marlies for a little bit. We bet him in, right? Now we talked about like with the McDavid and with comparing him to the greats. We talked about Lemieux a little bit.
Right.
So this is who he passed. So in that point streak at the time, it's now 62 games, so I don't have the updated, but at the time, Cowan had 42 goals and 103 points in this point streak.
Jeez.
So whatever it is up since then because he's broken it. In the 61 games that the point streak that Lemieux had, so remember, 103 points for Cowan. In that span for Lemieux, Lemieux had 133 goals.
Oh my god.
And 282 points. That's almost 300 points in 60 games.
Like, there's no words for that. That's over a hat trick a
Yeah,
game.
yeah,
That's well over a hat trick a
that's
game.
insanity.
Oh my god, 300 points? That's like 5 points a game.
That's there's no words.
Hat trick and 2 assists every single game.
Every single game.
Levels. Levels,
Yeah,
buddy. And
yeah,
levels, this is not rose-colored glasses. This is no, he seriously was that good.
yeah, yeah. That's incredible.
Listen, now, Easton, come to the Toronto Maple Leafs and be the Toronto Maple Leafs
Yeah.
Mario Lemieux, please.
Okay. So we had fun last week, but because we didn't hit record, you're not going to be able to see it. We
I-
did a quarter century teams. We
yeah,
did and we kind of ran through them, and I had to guess who was on the teams.
you
It,
did well.
I did okay. There were some teams I was a little disappointed in.
Some of them were just
Yeah.
bizarre.
Um, we're not going to do that because it does run a little long, and we already did it, so now I already know all of the
Yeah.
guys. There's a couple new teams since then. We're going to announce the guys on each team, but then the NHL one, I'm trying to find out when it's unveiled, the full NHL one.
Sometime in March. You still got a bunch of teams to go through.
They're getting close to the end though.
Are they at like 20 something? 21, 22?
Like what's the date today? The 26th.
26th.
So the Rangers are getting released today. You still have San Jose, Tampa, Nashville, Edmonton, and Utah. And I believe two teams got postponed.
Okay, so we're into
Vegas
March.
and LA got postponed.
We're into March then.
No, it's January. We're gonna be into February.
Yeah, but by the time all
Okay, no, no,
they're
no, no.
doing one
You're
a
right.
week,
You're
are
right.
they
You're
not?
right. You're right. No, it's what every day they've been doing it. So the quarter century at the NHL team is going to be a fan vote.
Oh, okay.
So from February 12th to 26th, they're going to do a fan vote, which will determine the top 25 players of the past 25 years, regardless of position. And then they're going to do like their
Sidney Crosby.
own team. Let's see. The fan vote will determine the top 25 of the past 25 years, regardless of position. That will comprise the quarter century team. Voting will be conducted on NHL.com and Twitter. Fans will have 100% of the vote. Only players named to a club's first quarter century team will be eligible for selection. When will they announce it? That's what I want to see. Reveal on a date to be determined. So
Okay.
we're going to look at that and we're going to make our own.
I like it. Full 25.
We could do the full 25.
Okay.
We're going to do the 25 players we think are going to make that list. Make your own order. Make your own order list. And then kind of we'll make our own team from there.
Okay.
We're going to do that. And then I say we wait until all the teams are announced, and we're gonna name all, and we're gonna read
Because
out all the
we
teams.
need them announced, right?
Yes, but I'm saying like last week we did the guessing. We're not gonna do that because we already did most of the teams.
Yeah.
Next week, maybe when all the teams are done and they're all announced, we're gonna read them off to you. We're gonna announce them all to you. I'm sure you can just go look at it. But it hasn't really been publicized much, so
No.
we're just gonna go team by team and maybe give our thoughts on it.
Okay.
Do we want to do the segment?
This segment?
The segment is back. No more AI.
AI is unreliable.
Yeah,
We're not losing jobs.
yeah.
We have purchased the official NHL Hockey
Show
Trivia
it.
Challenge.
Show it.
Okay.
Hockey trivia game. We're gonna.
1,000 questions.
There's 1,000 questions. So are we doing one question per show, or are we doing one card per show?
How many questions on a card? I'm thinking
4 or 5.
I'm thinking a card then.
A card per
I think
show.
like 5
Okay.
questions is a good one.
So there's gonna be one that I already.
Is there a board here?
There's a board. Yeah, this is an actual board game. So.
Okay.
But we're not actually playing the game. We're just gonna.
Okay.
We're just doing the question.
We have okay. Let me show.
We don't need the board, but
It's slap shots, shootout, one timers, blue liners, and honors. Interesting.
you just
Okay.
kind of mix it up every week. So there's gonna be a thing, a list. So
I
we've got
love
one
this.
pack of cards open.
I love this.
There's going to be one that I did already because my girlfriend kind of said I want to do one to see if you get them.
What is this for?
That's probably another set.
It's a different set of cards?
Oh, what is that?
Oh, that's probably for the
Part of the
board
game.
game.
Okay, so we don't need that.
This is the gold. This deck of
Yeah.
cards. Okay. Oh, I love this.
So there's gonna be a card in there that I've already done, so we're not gonna
So should I just be picking these at random?
just random. If you want to open the other pack there, that card is probably the one that I did already. What's the question? First question on it?
With which team did head coach Mike Keenan win his
Yeah.
only
So
Stanley
I did
Cup?
this card
Okay.
already. So that's the question. The answer is New York Rangers. I got the first two on that card, and I think the other ones I didn't get.
This back here.
Maybe we put that in a different pile so we know that since we did it already.
Yeah, okay. We'll keep them in the pack and then we'll leave them out of the
Yeah.
pack as we go. Okay.
So open both and then just random like random topic because there's different like categories, right?
I was gonna say,
So
do
we'll
you
just
care
mix
about
it up.
category?
No, just random. That's what I'm saying. Open that pack too, so you can pick out of both, and then random category every week,
Okay.
and then the ones that we do maybe we just put them in a pile right here.
Okay. Do you want to have a?
I'm gonna read this one to you and see if you get it.
Okay.
Well, it's multiple choice, but for me, I don't want you to do the multiple choice unless I ask for it. Like,
Okay.
let me think. But for you, we'll do the multiple choice.
Okay.
So, with which team did head coach Mike Keenan win his only Stanley Cup championship? It's the Atlanta Flames, the New York Rangers, the Philadelphia Flyers, or the Vancouver Canucks.
Okay. Well, I saw the answer.
You saw the answer.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you
The
see the answer to
Rangers.
anyone's?
No.
I did just say it too. Which Norris winner, so defenseman, was born in Switzerland?
Eric Carlson.
Switzerland.
Oh, Switzerland.
I'll give you the guys, but I'm gonna let you think because you could get this one. Because if I give you the
Switzerland.
guys, it's gonna give it away.
Switzerland. Switzerland. Um, that's not where. Oh, defenseman.
What do we think?
Switzerland. I can't think of many Swiss players.
That's why it's like I got this one without needing it because
There's so few.
There's only one guy because like this guy's good enough.
Okay. I am gonna need multiple choice.
Okay, what you're gonna you hear them and you're gonna know the answer.
Okay.
So Victor Hedman, Roman Yossi, Eric Carlson, or Nick Lidstrom.
Well, Hedman's Swedish. What were the options?
There's only one Swiss player on this
That's what I'm
list.
trying to think. What were the other players?
Victor Hedman, Roman Yossi, Eric Carlson, and Nick Lidstrom.
It's got to be Yossi then,
It's Roman Yossi.
because
Everyone else is Swedish.
Swedish.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. This one you're probably not going to get, but who was the first recipient of the Bill Masterton Memorial Trophy for perseverance, sportsmanship, and dedication to hockey? Pitt Martin, Lanny McDonald, Cam Neely, or Claude Provost?
I'm gonna go with Lanny.
Lanny? That's what I guessed too, but it's Claude Provost of the Montreal Canadiens in 1968.
Interesting.
Who scored the fastest goal from the start of his first NHL game?
Lemieux.
Is it? Listen, here's the options: Gus Bodnar, Austin Matthews, Alex McGillney, or Bill Mosienko.
Fastest.
Fastest.
Matthews had a Hattie. Was it quick? Was his first goal quick?
His first game.
4. I'm gonna go with Austin Matthews.
It is Gus Bodnar for the Toronto
How
Maple
fast?
Leafs on October 30th, 1943. 15 seconds.
Holy smokes. What a way to start.
Yeah. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Who was the first NHL goaltender to record a shutout?
Shit.
Clint Benedict, Lorne Chabot, or Chabot, George Hainsworth, or George Vezina?
I'll go with Vesna. Vesna Trophy.
Vezina Trophy. February 19th, 1918.
All of the like early ones. Okay, so the done ones go in there.
Oh, we'll go in here.
So
okay.
that will be our
Okay.
tracker.
We'll just leave this here.
Yeah.
All right, ready?
Ready?
So no multiple choice, and then but if I struggle,
do you care
I'll
what
ask for
color?
it. No, doesn't matter. Every week's gonna be random. Block the back of the cards so I don't see the answers. All right, here we go.
Considered one of the greatest hockey books ever written, Who penned The Game?
Oh,
That's a tough one.
okay, I need the options. I'm not gonna know
Your
this.
options are A. Ken Dryden, B. Stan Fischler, C. Brian McFarlane, or D. Dr. Seuss.
Dr. Seuss. So what are the two other?
Serious ones?
Yeah, so Ken Dryden, McFarland, and who?
Stan Fischler.
Okay, I know Ken Dryden. Ken Dryden was a lawyer or something after he retired, I think. But I don't think he may have written a book. Who knows? The Game. I'll go with Ken Dryden. Why not?
It was correct,
Ken
Ken
Dryden. There
Dryden,
you go.
for 200 points.
What is this topic?
Shootout.
Okay,
Who was the first selection for the Edmonton Oilers at the 1979 NHL entry draft?
don't give me the options.
Okay.
So 1979, Gretzky. So Gretzky never got drafted to the NHL. He played in the WHA, and then when they merged, he came with the Oilers to the NHL. So it wasn't Gretzky. It was a 1979 NHL draft. You said right?
NHL entry draft.
And I think this is notoriously one of the stronger drafts. I'll go with Messier, Mark Messier,
So he was an option.
but it's not him.
It's not him.
Okay. Yari Curry, Glenn Anderson, Paul Coffey. What are the options?
A. Blair Barnes, B. Wayne Gretzky, C. Kevin Lowe, or Lau.
I'll go Kevin Lowe.
Correct.
Yeah. I know it's not Gretzky. I know, and then obviously I already said Messier. So
Which goaltender was in net for the two longest games in NHL history?
he was in for both of the two longest games in NHL history.
Wow.
Holy shit!
Because this would have been no
Can you give me an era?
early. Do you want me to give you the years of when the games were?
Yeah.
36
Oh,
and 33.
Jesus Christ. Okay, give me the options.
Lauren Chabot, Bill Durnan, Chris Osgood, Jacques Plante.
Okay, well, it's definitely not Osgood or Plot. What were the first two?
Lauren Chabot, Chris Osgood, Bill Durnan.
I'll go Bill Durnan.
It was Chabot.
Okay.
33 and 36. I want to know how long those games were.
Jesus Christ.
Who was the first netminder to be awarded the Hart Memorial Trophy as the NHL's MVP? Lauren Chabot?
No, no,
Dumb.
no, 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 no.
Oh,
Don't give me
oh,
the.
no,
Don't give
no,
me
never mind.
unless I ask for him.
Sorry. These are tough.
I'm assuming it's a long time ago.
1928 to
Yeah. Okay.
29.
Give me the options.
Chabot, Hasek, Al Rollins, Roy Werders.
Obviously not Hashik.
No.
I'll go with the Shabbat guy again.
It was not Chabot.
What were the other two?
Al Rollins or Roy Werders.
Al Rollins. I'll go with.
It was D. Roy
Okay.
Werders.
This is like
28,
we're
1928,
going like
29.
way back here. Like give me something a little more recent.
Who was the first U.S. born player to be drafted first overall? That's kind of fun, actually.
Mike Madonna. U.S. born player to be drafted first overall. I'm trying to think who's been first overall.
I can give you a year if you'd like, if you don't want like the multiple
No, just let
choice.
me
Okay, let him cook.
work it out.
The gears are turning.
What era would that have been? Kane was like 2007-ish. Just trying to think if anyone else would have been first overall before that as an American. It's not Madonna.
No.
It's got to be after Madonna then.
What year was Madonna?
Would have been like late 80s, early 90s. American. Like pre that, there was no like there was Americans, but they weren't like studs yet. Brian Leach.
Good guess, though.
I'll go Pat Kane.
This was the draft of 1983.
Okay, wow. Is this a well-known player or what?
I have not heard much about him, but I'm not a big like pre-2000s guy.
1983 Americans that played in the league. Jeremy Roenick's probably too. No, that's too early for Roenick.
You want your options?
No, let me work it out.
D is Austin Matthews. It's tough. I'm not familiar with this guy,
Okay, so it's not Brett Hull then.
which was an option.
Yeah. I want to say Phil Housley would have been earlier than that, but I'll toss it out there. No, I think he would have been earlier than that. 83
Mm-hmm.
American
Mm-hmm. First overall.
first overall pick.
It's not Brett Hull. It is not Austin Matthews.
It's not Pat Kane,
Not Pat Kane.
obviously. 83 Americans.
Mhm.
Chris Chelios?
He is the last option.
Oh,
That is
holy
incorrect.
shit. All right, let me
You-
rack my brain a bit. This is the last question, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
500 points.
Who else was in that era?
Yeah.
I believe Keith Kachuk was too young. I don't think it was Keith Kachuk. That's way too early for him. Not way, but a little early. Who else played for the U.S.? Mike Richter. How about that?
Good guess. Not Mike Richter.
I'm trying to think like that '96 U.S. World Cup team that won. Who was on that team? That would be like
Good way of kind of.
yeah, like Ronick would have been there. Hall would have been there. Madonna would have been there. Chelios would have been there. What team was he drafted by?
Doesn't say.
Doesn't say. Does it say on the front?
No.
No.
You want
I've
initials?
said Leach. I've said Leach. I've said yeah. Give me initials, sure.
BL.
And it's not Brian Leach.
Unless he had a name change.
BL.
Brian.
It's Brian. Brian.
L, but not Leach.
Huh. Brian. In the interest of time, I'll just.
Brian Lawton.
Okay, I would not
I
have
have
got
no
that.
idea who
Yeah, I would
Brian
not have
Lawton
got that.
is.
That's
tough.
tough.
You got one. You got Ken Dryden. Did we get Kevin Lowe?
After a few guesses, I got Kevin Lowe. After you made a
You
multiple
got
choice.
Shabbat for the NHL.
After with the multiple choice, yeah.
Yeah. Did you get the
No, I don't think I got that one.
Hart Trophy? No, it was
No.
Roy Werder's.
Yeah. No, I didn't get that one.
So you went 3 for 5.
3 for 5, kind with a little bit of help on a couple of them.
That's
but
not bad.
anything pre 50s, I need the multiple choice.
Yeah.
From like 50s to 80s,
Anything
I might get it.
anything pre 2000s, I
Yeah.
need the multiple
Yeah.
choice.
All right, that's all I got.
Anything else?
I think that's it.
Who do you want to win tonight?
Football, you mean?
Football.
Now that the Lions are out, depressing. I would like the Bills to win the Super Bowl. I think that's a lot of people's pick.
Yeah.
But anybody but the Chiefs.
Anybody but the Chiefs.
Anybody but the Chiefs.
This is the only Chiefs we don't support.
Yeah, true.
All right, folks.
All right, folks.
Go puck yourself.
It was a fun one.
It was a fun one.
We'll be back next week.
Yes.
Actually back.
Yes. No 2 week.
No 2
Because we forgot to record.
Last week we did record, but we didn't record.
Little editing to do with this one, but
yeah. All right.
bye.